Okay, we're live. George here with Film Journal. I'm back with Ryan from Cinecrisis. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Thanks so much for coming on. We have an exciting show for you guys today. Our second live show. One where we sort of, instead of just a freewheeling conversation, we kind of had like an idea of what we were going for and what we wanted to do. And we're going to focus on a genre. And I think going forward, if we continue to do these shows, which I would like to because they're fun, we will pick sort of a genre or a specific movie, because I got to tell you, like trying to fit 4 movies in is a tall task, especially when I have a wife who's not exactly super excited to watch Grizzly and Orca and right. I pull out a lot of favors for this, right? But today, yeah, I gave away the hint a little bit, but we're going to be talking about our theme, which is animal attack films of the 1970s. How do we arrive at this choice, Ryan, in your opinion?
It's a topic that we've talked about for a while now doing, and it was going to be one of our initial formal video discussions, but there seems to be so many of them, and it seems like Jaws definitely lit a fire under this genre. One movie happened, it was wildly successful, one of the most successful movies in history, and of course, what happens after that? Everyone tries to capitalize and copy the success of that. So there was a plethora of these animal attack movies, just like the way today we have nonstop superhero movies. This was one of the trends that occurred at that period in time.
But the thing I like about the 70s is that trends seemed like they were shorter lived back then, which seems like that's what should be happening today. Like we should be like cycling through things like really quickly, but that's not really what happens. Instead, like we stick on something like superheroes, forever. And I hesitate to identify any trends now. I'm off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else besides a superhero.
Well, I can think of some modern trends that have come and gone, and it's interesting to see that natural transition that happened. I mean, YA is no longer
that's a great point.
Marketable or deliverable box office film anymore. And in the 2010s, after Twilight, which was I think 2008, that sparked an entire craze where every YA novel was being adapted into not just one movie, but a potential series. And
by YA, you mean young adult novel, which is that novel. Does that still exist
as a genre? I mean,
in literature, yeah. I'm just curious. I remember it being so.
I believe it's still pretty popular amongst readers, but in the film industry, that was a trend that came. It had its heyday. Obviously, I think Hunger Games, you could say, eclipsed Twilight in terms of like superseding that genre. And then when that died, Harry Potter, I wouldn't necessarily lump into that category because it's a little different because it
transcends it. It beats the genre. It's like Jaws, right?
Yes.
The original.
And then horror movies definitely go through cycles and trends. Definitely, we've lived through and seen what they derogatorily call the torture porn genre, which is Saw, Hostel, those types of movies that had a definite heyday where everyone was trying to outdo each other, and Saw movies were coming out literally every year. And now they're trying to revive it again, but I don't have any high hopes for that.
Because now it seems like the trend is more towards supernatural.
Yes.
Or I would even say like religiously inclined, like supernatural films, like The Nun, The Pope's Exorcist. All of the Conjuring films are essentially about like a religious couple that went around fighting the devil, right?
Yes.
And the thing that's interesting to me and why I wanted to stick with why I thought this would be a good topic, the animals attack, is because I think it's one thing to say, well, there was a popular movie and then everyone ripped it off like Jaws, right? But I think maybe it's more interesting to investigate it further and find out, was it just that Jaws was popular, or is there something in the consciousness that clamored for more films of that kind, right? I think the horror phenomenon, and looking at the way that horror has shifted and moved, it's like, well, maybe now people are searching for a more spiritual dimension in this world that seems crazy. Or it's sort of like you can kind of make anything work, so if you hit on something like, why were slasher films big in the Reagan era?
I have no idea, but
I'm sure there's some sort of
justify it in some weird way,
Exactly. No, I don't think that's totally out of bounds to do. So I have a certain idea about why films like this were popular. But I think if we're going to talk more, we have Dan Cooper in the chat saying he just yelled out Piranha 1978. That wasn't one of the movies we chose. The films we're discussing today, we're going to, of course, talk a little bit about Jaws. We're going to move chronologically through this trend, starting with Grizzly in 1976, and then Orca in 1977, Jaws 2 in 78, and then 1980, which we're skirting a little bit on the 70s, but it was made in 79. So Alligator from 1980.
It counts. It counts.
Yeah. Oh, we got a guy that says, "Hey, George and Cinecrisis. Looking forward to this." Yeah, dude, this is a great coupling here. So you can disagree with me on some of these, but I put together a list when I was watching some of these films of collective criteria, things that we see in all of these movies that you can say that's an animal attack film of the 70s, right? This is classified as such. Because we have movies that are sort of adjacent to this, like Day of the Dolphin with George C. Scott. Yes. Well, it's a movie that has to deal with a sort of almost a supernatural animal occurrence, but it wouldn't necessarily classify. And you've seen Day of the Dolphin.
That's scientific. Right? That's scientific. Come on. That's pure science. Okay.
You saw Day of the Dolphin, right?
That movie, okay, come on.
You saw Day of the Dolphin, didn't you?
Yes, I've seen it several times. It's
several times.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, I do too. It's good. And George C. Scott was on an absolute tear of getting a bunch of roles, which I think maybe after he did Patton, he was just like, he was the man. And he picked a lot of movies that were sort of obscure and strange and
bizarre is more of the word. And they're great though. Have you ever seen the Hindenburg?
No, I've never seen Hindenburg. But that ties into what we're talking about, because I think that as we go, the animal attack genre is an easy morph from the disaster film craze of the early 70s. It sort of morphed into the animal movie, and we'll talk about that. But collective criteria I had, and feel free to chime in where you can. And by the way, Day of the Dolphin is about George C. Scott as a scientist who's training dolphins to talk, and someone steals them and reutilizes the intelligent dolphins to kill the president.
Yes. It's a lot deeper than that, though. There's I think it's a really, really thoughtful movie, though, and probably a little over maligned, but that's a topic for another day.
It's not bad. It's not bad. The trailer is what makes it goofy. Like if you were to watch the trailer, they trained a dolphin to kill the president of the United States, and you're like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what are we in for here?" But it's actually good. It's based on it's based on a true story of a guy named Sydney, or he was a doctor. John C. Lilly. And I'm going to post something here in the comments for you guys. A great video you should see. You know what? I'm so bad at getting off topic. I apologize. But
no, it's okay. So I did watch that video. You sent it to me a while ago, and that was totally bonkers. I'm
going to post this in the chat. This is a real thing. There was a guy named John C. Lilly in the late 60s who thought that he could teach dolphins how to talk because they were hyper intelligent. And we'll get to this when we get to Orca. But he flooded half of his house on the Florida coast or California. And he had a TA in there, and they drove themselves nuts trying to teach a dolphin to talk. And this occurrence is sort of maligned, or it should be, because it was totally goofy and wacky. But the female trainer had a sexual relationship with the dolphin, which is sort of the slug line on the New York Post for the story. But okay, sorry.
And then just one more word on Day of the Dolphin is that it also segues and intersects with another popular genre of 1970s films, which is the political thriller and the distrust of government. That's that.
There's a ton.
Thinking movies like 3 Days of the Condor or All the President's Men, things like that. It kind of dabbles and flirts with that genre as well.
Yeah, but if you want to see a really in-depth video that's really good by a channel called Atrocity Guide, which makes cool content, I would suggest you check out that clip there. But I'll ask you if you disagree with these. Collective criteria, or if you have anything to add. You have to, of course, have a killer animal.
Yes.
Oftentimes, the reason the animal begins to kill is because of a disturbance of its habitat. It's on a revenge mission of some kind. Or
sort of, though, because sometimes there's mad science involved, tampering with things.
But wouldn't you say that in Alligator, but Alligator would be, he has been mistreated by humanity, correct?
Yes, I would say so.
There are slasher film elements to these.
Very much.
Um,
More than others.
the animal is always either a super smart animal and or an animal that is deranged from the regular species because it's very large or extra dangerous for some reason.
Yes, it has to be
Right.
like a super predator,
And then I would say if you're looking for a special effects continuity or production design thing, you often get movies that feature there's a hybrid mix of either a person in a costume as the animal, a big prop version of the animal, intercut with real footage of the animal in its habitat or in a pool or something, right? And when the attack happens, it's all often very obscured and in super close up. So you get
Yes.
like an arm attacking or a tail slapping, and then we cut back to like sort of footage of and some of these movies are very clever in that regard. Those were
Yes.
my criteria. Oh, and also my criteria is in all of the films that we watched, there is, in my opinion, they all function on like a basic. Generally, there's a trio of main characters, and there's sort of 5 character types in these trios, and it's either the rugged outdoorsman. Quint in Jaws, he's the rugged captain. In Orca, we have a rugged captain. We have a person of science, which would be Charlotte Rampling in Orca, or Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws. In Grizzly, the rugged guy would be Scotty, the bear grizzly man prototype.
Oh, you remember the characters in Grizzly, huh?
Oh, I wrote down and I took notes. And then we always have sort of a civil servant character, someone who's a cop or a sheriff or like an everyman person, but he occupies sort of like a governmental role of some kind, right?
And would you also say that they are often the only ones who are out there clamoring about the truth, and no one believes them, of course?
A side character not included in the trio is sort of the evil capitalist mayor stand-in person, right?
Yes.
And then sometimes we also have like a person of like nature, like the Native American guy in Orca, who's like, I have special spiritual knowledge about the ancestral habitat of this creature or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's where I'll stop. Would you disagree with me basically fundamentally on the parameters of the genres, or anything I missed?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. It's just,
Okay.
Again, all of those qualities are going to be dependent on basically how much money they have and who they can get to act in the movie too, because especially the effects part, you're looking at extremes. You're looking at either a very high quality, big budget production like Jaws and Jaws 2 especially, and then you're looking at bottom of the barrel, low budget, zero budget for movies like Grizzly, and then you kind of got the in between. Oh, come on. Grizzly was very low. Okay.
It's shot in anamorphic, dude. That was not low. That looked good.
Well, I guess they blew the entire budget on that. But
I think we're going to disagree on a few of these.
Okay.
But okay. Well, I think we could maybe start by touching briefly on Jaws, the one that started it all. What's your opinion on Jaws?
Oh, it's great. It never ceases to amaze me how much it holds up every single time I watch it. So it never gets old. It never gets tiring. I think it transcends a lot of not just genres, but it transcends its time period and setting too. So although it obviously looks and feels like a 70s movie, it doesn't have that. It doesn't feel dated. It feels pretty timely and up to date. There's nothing there that's like, oh, this is so horribly dated or old. So I think there's that. 2, the effects hold up, and that's because they give you just enough. They don't. It's much more of a suspense picture as it's designed that way. So you tease, and then at the end they go full, bonanza with the shark. And it's a little jarring sometimes when the thing comes up, but I think it makes it a little bit more stark and real that there's a giant mechanical shark like on the deck of the boat. And today it would look CG and it would look horrible, but I think there's something real and tangible that makes it much more effective. And then I would just say the characters sell the movie, and that trio that you alluded to before, not just the fact that all 3 of those actors are superb in these roles, they're well written, but they all interplay in a different dynamic that really makes them like pop out and shine. They bring something totally different and unique to each of their experiences to make this movie work.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Last time I saw Jaws, I think I watched Jaws maybe 2 years ago. Same time I watched Jaws 2. But I saw Jaws on a 35 millimeter print when I was in New York City. I was visiting New York City, and I saw that the MoMA was going to show a 35 millimeter print at the museum, and I went and saw it, and it was just spectacular. It looked beautiful. It was so cool to see that movie with a packed audience. I remember that moment where the dead body falls out of the boat in front of Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
Everyone jumped. It still worked, right? Still engaging, really well done. And I think that, everyone talks a lot about how, oh, the shark never worked. There was supposed to be more shark. Well, the movie doesn't need more shark. Like, it all works. Like, I even question sometimes whether if that was totally blown out of proportion or not, that the idea that the shark didn't work. And I've heard that as an excuse probably from a lot of filmmakers, like the same type of people who would say, oh, well, I'm being Hitchcockian. I'm not showing you, it's like, okay, wait a minute. You just don't have the ability to do it. So now you're couching yourself and like, oh, well, I'm being like Spielberg or something. But yeah, Jaws is an incredible film. And obviously it was like a massive hit, but I would trace, you can also almost trace the success of Jaws back to something like The Exorcist or The Godfather, high profile blockbuster film based on a very popular, sensational book. Right.
Yeah, and I think just like you just kind of touch this. It's also the idea of what is Jaws, the movie? What is it? It's a B movie. It's a B animal attack movie at its core, right? It transcends that, and it's much more than that. But on a basic level, you're pitching this movie to a studio. This is a shark attack movie. Well, that's
yeah.
But what if somebody good made a shark attack movie and took it seriously and brought a much higher level of sophistication to it, and that's what we got here. It reminds me a lot of, I don't know how accurate the quote is, but in the Hitchcock movie where about the making of Psycho, he tells his wife at one point, well, what if somebody good made a horror movie in 1960? And that's when he made Psycho. So it's like, it's that kind of same mentality of taking someone who likes the premise, likes the schlock, likes the junk kind of material, and then take it up to a higher level of a true Studio A film with all the big budgets and lights and spectacle.
And it helps because the actors are so good.
Yes.
Yeah, and the filmmaking is so incredible. The reverse zoom into Brody as he's sitting there on the beach, right? That amazing John Milius written monologue that Quint delivers. The actors, even though I just watched Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, I forget the name of the actor, which is ridiculous. But I used to be able to recall this stuff with incredible speed. Who am I talking about? You know what I'm talking
about? I don't follow. No.
We're gonna. Oh, the guy who plays Quint.
Oh, Robert Shaw.
Robert Shaw. Thank you. You gotta come to my rescue sometimes.
Sorry.
Right, and we will be cheating.
I mentioned the other movie, and I was like, I didn't follow.
Taking a Pelham, and then Robert Shaw had a hell of a career after Jaws because he was kind of, he had done From Russia with Love, and then obviously he kind of played villain roles, and then he got Black Sunday. Have you ever seen Black Sunday?
I have not.
Oh, it's terrific. It's about a terrorist attack on a football game by like a crazy, by Bruce Dern with a Zeppelin. It's nuts. It's a great movie.
Okay.
But yeah, Jaws is incredible, but I don't want to bury the lead here. Do you want to get into our first movie, Grizzly? Sure. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about it.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I am. I'm always excited to hear what you think. And I think I'm going to play, the trailer here. I'm gonna
let's set up Grizzly first. Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah, people need to get a sense of what they're looking at here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, we got technical difficulties. I'm learning, guys. We're gonna get better at this as we go along. Okay, let's do the trailer for Grizzly. Show everyone what we're talking about.
This motion picture does not cater to fantasy. You will see nature's most savage, man-eating.
Is it not coming up on the thing?
No, I see it. It's full screen.
Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay,
it
got it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Animal. By its size alone, it can overpower and devour any human. Grizzly.
Hey, you got your head in the sand. We got a killer grizzly on our hands.
Scott, you're a maniac. Always we're running around in costumes. There are no grizzlies.
Let's go, son.
Over 18 feet tall, over 2,000 pounds, the largest carnivorous ground beast in the world.
June?
Grizzly. Anyone is fair game, because this grizzly preys on the easiest food of all, man.
Listen,
Get the idea?
Yeah, I think we saw all the best parts of the movie there.
Oh, is that right? Okay. See, we just had a guy here comment in the chat. Good owner. He says The Deep. Have you seen The Deep?
No.
Okay. The Deep is also based on a Peter Benchley book, but we'll get to that when we talk about Jaws too.
Okay.
It's good. It's good. It's got Robert Shaw in it as well, and Nick Nolte
Okay.
and Jacqueline Bisset. It's good. But sort of, yeah, never mind. I don't get off topic. But Grizzly, your thoughts?
Sure. So, yeah, I think it took me 4 times to make it through this. I'm not
Get
kidding.
out of here! Come on.
I fell asleep 3 out of the 4 times watching this. I found it super cheap, super boring, not impressed.
Wrong.
I guess if you were at the drive-in, I would, probably say this is a fun time, but watching it alone at home, I didn't get anything out of this. This reminds me of just like the worst feeling of watching one of those bad, like the early Friday the 13th, movies like 1 or 2 or 3, where it's just like
Sure.
you're just waiting for something to happen. And I think this goes to show not about how good a movie like Jaws is, and even by extension, I'd say Jaws 2 and Alligator, is that the filler material in between the kills is worth watching. It's interesting. It has something that you can get into and get involved with and follow and kind of enjoy and laugh. Here, I had no interest in any of the characters. I couldn't tell you anything about what they did or who they were. All I remember is the ending, which was good, and that's it. Yes. The bazooka to the bear.
Yeah, bazooka's great. I have that clip.
Sorry,
I've got that clip lined up. But on Grizzly, I see where you're coming from. Like I was watching Orca and I was thinking, I don't like this movie really that much, but every movie from the 70s I do like. There's just something about it. And the thing I like about Grizzly is that I think it has a good sense of place. Are you correct about this, the filler? Yes. Every other scene is our horrible capitalist mayor character saying, you're not getting the grizzly right. You got to do the, it's ridiculous. The guy offers no solutions, but he's just mad from the jump at our lead character, right? He's sort of the Brody stand-in. He's a sheriff, played by.
Is he a sheriff or a ranger?
He's a ranger. He's like the head ranger, essentially. And he's the sheriff of the town. I mean,
come on, ranger is
the mayor.
Important distinction, in the park forest system.
I'm with you. So I like Grizzly. I really liked the I like the Scotty character. In the movie, we get a character played by Richard Jekyll, who is sort of like the bear whisperer, grizzly man style guy, who is all about bears, and he has sort of like the shamanistic respect for the bear, right? What do you think about the kill scenes in the film? To me, they were I thought they were rather shocking. There were some moments like when that woman gets killed, the guy's girlfriend, where there's a great dolly shot through this giant campground of all these people that you saw at the very opening of the trailer. And it ends with 2 sort of like homely 70s people making out, and then they decide they're going to have sex, very slasher style. The girl goes in a tent. She starts putting on perfume, because that's what you do, right? And because if you smell bad, the mood is just totally soured. So and then the grizzly bear pulls her out of the tent or something. Like I said before with the special effects, it's like really vague. There's like a arm and stuff. And then she's just
sorry, go ahead.
She's like hanging there suspended, like screaming, like she's possessed by like a demon, and you're like, oh my God, it's surprisingly brutal and violent. The first kill is 2 young, pretty girls out camping together, right? And they get killed by the grizzly. And then a small child gets his leg ripped off by the grizzly and his mother is eaten. And it's really pretty, it lives up to the sort of double entendre of its title, in my opinion.
I would say the only complaint I have, and yes, the kills are the best part of the movie, but I would say that they feel like they use the same stock footage of the wildlife bear 800 times in this movie, interspliced. So these things are edited to death for the kill scene. So yeah, you see exactly. Yeah. It looks like that, and then you see a arm, which we saw in the trailer clip, a paw swatting somebody. You
Swatting.
see an extreme close up of the person struggling. Then next shot, there's blood on their face. You never see like an actual like claw
There's
them.
no makeup either.
No.
When Scotty has sort of like an unceremonious death, it's just like they like turkey basted like 3 drops of blood on his face. I'm like, I did that in high school.
And then they're on the floor. They're on the floor dead. And it's like, okay, great.
You weren't captivated by Christopher George's and his relationship with the cherubic woman who runs the hotel or whatever?
No, not at all.
And her dad spends too much money on wine or something? Like,
I mean, I hate to say it, but like maybe if there was a little bit more sex appeal in the movie, that would have helped it. Like they do.
Well, they get 2 hotties at the beginning. And then you have the hot campground ranger gal who goes to the waterfall and is going to have fun time. It's always in the 70s, a really spectacularly beautiful woman and like some like really average looking like balding man.
Yes.
Right.
Or they got the perm usually if they have hair.
Balding indicates sort of like a masculine energy. So he's obviously packing. But yeah, you get the murder of the park ranger, the pretty park ranger girl in the waterfall where you don't see much, but you get the classic blood in the water kind of thing because the grizzly, you know. Now, let me ask you this. Do we ever get I can't remember. Do they ever say why the grizzly is crazy?
No, I think it's something to do with lack of food or
too many campers or something?
I'm not sure.
Because the movie makes a lot of it. They talk a lot about how there's way too many campers in the forest or something.
Is it supposed to have some kind of environmental message of, preserve the forest because we're encroaching on the grizzly's territory? And
I was thinking when I was watching Grizzly, I go, there's really, it's kind of souring my idea of the environmental message driving the draw of these movies because there's not a lot there. It's like, you would think they would say something like, we ate the grizzlies, we're eating his food. So he's, right. But that's not, but you get a line from the helicopter person who's like a non-entity, the helicopter driver in the movie at the beginning where he's flying and he goes,
that was a nice shot. I like the intro with the helicopter flight. That was nice.
Let's keep this land. This land might last longer or something, so there's sort of like an environmentalist hint.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring up the environmental, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say just bear attack movies. I feel like you're very limited too with what you can do and how far you can take it. And again, I usually go for these types of movies, especially the older ones like this. But I would say that I had a lot more fun with Cocaine Bear, which came out this year. I would recommend that one. It takes this like and notches it up 20 points.
Got it. And because with a whale or a shark, you can sell me on the idea that like, oh, I can't shoot it. It just went underwater. Yeah. But with a bear just literally goes like this. He just makes himself a giant
multiple times and it does nothing. It's not hyped up on anything heightened on anything.
Yeah. He didn't get cocaine from a plane or anything like,
exactly. And it's not mutated like the alligator.
Or like the movie Prophecy that we're going to touch on, I think, some other movies that we left out of our definitive list here, like the movie Prophecy, a John Frankenheimer film with Talia Shire. Where there's a mutant giant bear killing everybody, but it's because there's a paper mill that's putting chemicals in the water, so it turned him into a super evil bear, right?
Okay, we don't get that a little bit more.
The movie was made because I thought about the cheapness too. It was made by a company called Film Ventures International, which has a reputation as a movie studio that basically made rip-off films of like popular movies and got them out real quick. Like we said, this is 76. This is right after Jaws. Mm-hmm. Right. I'll tell you the thing I like about Grizzly is I do like the actors in it. For even if their characterization is thin, they are appealing movie presences to me. You can tell that this Christopher George was probably some kind of like TV cowboy actor.
Interesting. I'm not. I
don't know. I'm not sure. I'm looking at his. His.
He's got. He was in the Rat Patrol. Okay.
See, there you go. See, I'm correct. That's some kind of thing.
Well, that was that was more of a army or military show, like a World War II show.
You get someone with gravitas. He would have probably been a nostalgic presence in the movie for someone in the 70s.
Yeah, because he
grew up watching him
show,
12 years ago on TV, right? And then the guy who plays the Richard Jekyll. I thought his character was cool. I didn't know why he had to like die, and his death was very like not that. Like, he gets up, and you're like, yes, he's alive. He's not dead. After the bear buries him in the ground, right?
Well, because you gotta have a big body count for these movies. Otherwise, there's nothing there.
They come through for you on that, dude. They
Hmm?
come through for you. They come through for you on the body count.
Yeah, but I mean, you need to put a little something in between to hold
People
my
are getting
interest.
eaten by the bear left and right.
I wouldn't say left and right, but
They're getting
I was
scratched.
not. This is not one that I would put on regularly or rewatch for quite a while.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I watched it probably 2 years ago because before we decided to do this, my thinking was I was going to do an animal attack movie video myself, but I ended up not having. I ended up not having really enough concrete there-ness to like justify like 4 movies, and trying to find a unifying theme between them. I have sort of like a base idea here, but I will. I'm going to add this to the stream. Let's skip to the end. So this is after. Here we go.
Okay, see what he's like the hug, and then the stock shot of the bear.
He's getting hugged by a guy in a bear costume.
Now
He's
we got the
dead.
blood coming out of the mouth,
Spit it up. Spit the blood out. Spit out the blood. Oh, he's dead.
and then clearly a stock shot.
But no, they're at the end though. They really go all out, and they've got a real bear there. I mean, there's a bear
Yes. That is not stock. Sorry.
with the actors. No,
Or
okay,
stunt people, probably.
here we go. The real problem is this is exciting and this is a fun YouTube loop. Here we go. Okay, do it, brother. Let's go. Yes.
I like the added extra superimposed like nuclear blast explosion that they put on there. Did you see that? It's like,
I do like that.
yeah, I like that part. That's the best part of the movie. But you have to
No, but
suffer
I'm
through
thinking
90
of-
minutes in order to get there.
My actions. I'm thinking about my actions.
Now I have a question because on Letterboxd, it looks like you rated this movie 5 stars.
Yeah, of course, it's great. And also
Is
like
that
where
an
they
accurate
are.
representation of your rating for this movie.
Look, bro, I have a lot of criterion by which I judge the films I enjoy, and one of them is, do I want to be there? Like, would I go there? You know what I'm saying?
Like
would
in the movie or like filming the movie?
both? Like, I feel like being on the set for this would have been amazing.
Oh, it probably
Could
would have
you
been a
imagine?
blast. But
You're wrangling a real fucking bear, and you've got like an old cowboy TV show actor on set, and like 2 hotties as park rangers, and you're just hanging, and it's the 70s, and you're popping Schlitz cans open. Like, it would be amazing. But also, it's like, do I want to go to that lodge and that cabin in the wood, the Lincoln log cabins? Yeah, I do. Of course, I want to be there, right? Like in
We-
Orca. Do I
we
want to
have-
hang out on that boat
hold
with
on.
fucking Richard Harris? No. Like,
Hold
go
on, we
ahead.
have an interesting comment here. I believe Grizzly was the highest grossing independent film up until 78's Halloween. I'm looking at Wikipedia. It's saying it made $39 million. I don't know, is that adjusted for inflation or what? It says, or 7.3 million. So I'm not sure.
Some Hollywood accounting
I
there.
assume that must be adjusted for inflation, the 39 million.
I could believe it. Film Ventures International, I looked them up, and they made some films like Beyond the Door. I guess like they had a hand in producing a lot of Italian films that were then dubbed for American release.
We know how great some of those are.
Well, some of them are. Like, one of the films they produced was The Visitor with Franco Nero. Have you ever seen The Visitor with Franco Nero and
Mhm.
Glenn Ford? It's really good. The Visitor is a kick-ass movie. They re-released it. Alamo Drafthouse re-released it and like cleaned up the print and put it out as sort of a midnight movie. And I saw it in college. And this was sort of my first like disillusionment with the idea of the midnight movie, because we watched this Visitor. And I took my girlfriend, my now wife, to it. And we were watching it. And this is billed as like, oh, it's so crazy. It's the craziest, dumbest, weirdest movie you've ever seen. And I'm watching it and I'm enjoying it. And it's really good. And everyone's laughing at it because they paid money to laugh. So they're going to laugh. Right. And my wife was like, what's funny? And I go, nothing. Like, this is like good. You know, I don't know what people are bitching about. This is a solid, great film. The good owner says the bazooka was cool, but I thought they should use the helicopter rotors to decapitate Grizzly.
That's actually
dude,
what I was actually thinking the exact same thing when I was watching it. I was like that because it was set up perfectly that they're
he's
going
like
to
right there.
It's set up perfectly, and then he pulls a bazooka out of somewhere, out of nowhere, and you have an atomic explosion at the end.
Well, I'm
So,
watching it, and that would have been amazing if they had used the helicopter. But I mean, come on, dude.
I don't think on a technical level they could achieve that.
No, they couldn't have done it. But what they did do, which I was thinking when I was watching it, they obviously had a real bear. Did they build a small scale helicopter to make the bear look bigger next to it? And if they did, major props. Stop hating. Like these guys, could you imagine filming a movie with a fucking bear in it, dude? You got to bring it in like a cage and like, you know, my dad told me a story one time. He went to Canada and he went to a bar where you could fight a bear in a cage. Like they put you in like a cage match, like a ring with a bear. The bear had a muzzle on it and he had no claws, and you could like fight the bear. And eventually the bear would get tired of fighting you and just lay on you and then collapse on you.
Oh my God.
And, right. But,
I don't know how you would get insured for that nowadays, but
no, you wouldn't. But, no, Grizzly.
One other thing about Grizzly, probably the best thing, the thing that I like the most is apparently the poster was illustrated by Neil Adams of DC Comics.
Is that right?
That's what I read online. Yeah.
Now in DC Comics lore, he's like the Jack Kirby of DC. Am I wrong?
I mean, he's one of their more prominent artists who helped revolutionize Batman and Green Lantern, Green Arrow in the late '60s.
Now this might be apocryphal, but I had heard that they had Neil Adams re-illustrate some of Kirby's drawings on Jimmy Olsen to make Superman look more like the house style Neil Adams.
Yeah, I think it's Neil Adams and another guy, one of the other big Superman artists from that time. His name will come to me. I met him at a convention too. But I met Neil Adams one time. He was pleasant, but he was very just like transactional business. Didn't want to talk. Just like, here's a comic, give me the money, I'll sign it. Have a nice day.
Does he still get work?
Oh, he passed on, but he was actively doing his own not creator owned, but like his own versions of Batman and his other characters that he worked on up until he died. He did these absolutely bananas Batman miniseries, which I would highly recommend. Batman Odyssey, I believe, is the title of that. And then he did a Dead Man limited series, which is completely and totally bizarre but beautiful and very much
Dead Man is a cool DC character, kind of like the Spectre or like Metamorpho, who have always sort of appealed to me as like weird, sort of off label.
Yeah, no, definitely underrated. Not ready for a movie. Please don't make a movie. But,
the Metamorpho movie.
Well, Metamorpho is going to be in Superman Legacy. You know,
bro, did you just see I turned my hand into that? That's crazy. Right? That's the movie, right?
And people are going to be super excited, you know, for Metamorpho.
By the way, I saw Barbie last night.
Did you? And what did you think?
I did. Well, I'll save that because we could go on forever about that. We got to stick to the topic. But I was going to say is that we got there 15 minutes early, and I will never do that again. You've ever gone to a movie before the previews and sat there and watched like hey, I'm so-and-so, and welcome to the pre-movie trailer show?
All the time, man. Before we had reserved seats, you used to get to the movie sometimes a half an hour or 40 minutes early and sit there forever. Yeah, to get a good seat.
Okay.
Now nobody goes to the movie, so you can go right on time, and even if there's not reserved seating, there's no one in the theater here, so
there's enough screens. But yeah, okay. Have we said our piece on Grizzly?
I think it bears mentioning
mentioning.
Oh yes, good catch. The existence of Grizzly 2 Revenge,
right?
Which apparently I didn't look into this a lot, but I'm reading about it right now. Because I saw it advertised before. It was originally filmed in Hungary in 1983, but the release was put on hold for decades and premiered at the 2020 Hollywood Real Independent Film Festival in 2021. So it took over 40 years, almost 40 years for it to come out, and it stars George Clooney and Charlie Sheen.
And Charlie Sheen and George Clooney are both in it.
Yeah, and Laura Dern as well, apparently.
And Sala, Gimli.
And John Rhys Davies. Yep.
John Rhys Davies. Yep, that's right. I wish we would have. but you know what? It's sort of out of the playing. Like once you hit 83, it was over.
Yeah.
Right? The animal attack was over.
But think about how
you
bad this must be. I mean, come on.
You could still make Jaws films because Jaws was the brand, right? But the concept was over.
They drove that into the ground, though.
Drove it into the ground, absolutely.
Oh,
Grizzly. Okay, so Grizzly. It was okay. I liked it. I was a little more. I think I was just a little more
completely
patient.
sold. You were so high on this movie. Now you're like, it's okay.
Well, I mean, it is okay. I mean, I'm not trying to bullshit everybody here, but like, it's okay. You know, it's not amazing, but it's not like hideous.
You have to really be into super like drive-in style movies for this. This has to be your thing, I think.
I think it looked like it had to me with the little budget they had.
Right mindset for this too.
They had a lot of cast members. They had to deal with a bear. They had a lot of outdoor scenes that looked great. They filmed it in widescreen. It's in anamorphic. That always elevates, your movie. That was John Carpenter's big trick. It did look good. Yeah, I thought with what they had, they did a nice job.
Where did you watch it? Just curious.
I have it on Blu-ray. It was Severin Films put it out on Blu-ray.
Okay, I watched it on Tubi. They have it for free on Tubi. Tubi is like one of those Amazon apps that has like content
free
that
stuff
studios to sell to them. It's a lot of like, mostly a lot of like, there's some movies, I don't know if it's Universal funds a lot of those too or not, but there's Freevee and Tubi. So you can find a lot of these things on there. Just in case anyone wants to watch Grizzly and not buy a Blu-ray.
You should watch Grizzly, not buy the Blu-ray like I did. Yeah.
Well, the only time that I would ever advise not buying the movie.
The other movie I bought on Blu-ray is Orca.
Okay.
Which was put out by Shot Factory. I'm going to show the trailer here. Disappointingly, there's no special features on the disc.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame. But let's give everyone a taste of Orca here.
The ancient Romans called him Orca or Canis, Latin for bringer of death. He is without challenge the most powerful animal on the globe, the killer whale. Orca has 48 teeth, set in 2 impressive rows. In some respects, the orca's intelligence may be even superior to man's. They remain loyal to one mate for life. As parents, they are exemplary, better than many human beings. And like human beings, they have a profound instinct for vengeance. An innocent creature is destroyed by an act of human cruelty, and the ultimate battle of man against nature begins. Dino De Laurentiis presents Orca.
Can you commit a sin against an animal?
He followed you. He saw you on the deck of the boat.
They always remember the human being who had tried to harm them.
He deliberately left you your boat because he wants to fight you on the sea.
I won't do that.
Now the fish have vanished from the fishing grounds. And it's all because of your whale.
In fact, I won't fight him at all.
You're not even man enough to accept the excitement of his challenge.
I'll fight you! You're a vengeful son of a...
Orca, starring Richard Harris.
Okay.
It was a good trailer.
It is a good trailer. It really is a good trailer, which is surprising because you've watched a lot of trailers from the 70s for great movies that are terrible.
And I just want to comment on what you said before we watched the trailer, which is the lack of special features. And that's very disappointing for a lot of these Shout Factory and Scream Factory releases, because that used to be, they prided themselves on putting out these very high quality discs, not just with good transfers of the movie, but with an audio commentary track, a making of featurette, and anything else to kind of supplement it. And they have not been doing a good job at all. And I kind of dread having to buy their stuff now, because it's just like, you're not going to get anything. Whereas with Kino Lorber, their Studio Classics line, they don't put additional features very rarely, but I don't care about that. The audio commentary by a very well-read and well-informed historian speaks much greater than any featurette would. And I appreciate what they do for their films.
Well, we grew up in the golden age of special features on DVDs, right? Where you would get the 2 disc, which would be all special features and
Yeah.
an extensive documentary on just about every movie. I mean, I think we know how good Lucas was at that.
Mhm.
And like Spider-Man 2 or anything that came out, you had
Yeah.
an extensive documentary on how they made it. And
And
I would
certainly
attribute
modern movies, I would say, benefit much more from those types of featurettes rather than an audio commentary, which is kind of useless and boring, especially when they put the cast on there and stuff. I hated that.
horrible.
But for these
Yeah.
old movies, definitely a historical commentary is I value so much more than those types of things.
Absolutely. But yeah, you know what? I spoke too soon. I believe there is a commentary track on the Orca DVD.
Oh, is
I
there?
haven't listened
Okay.
to it. But Orca, what'd you think?
Oh, so I really like this one a lot, and the more I see it, this is the second time I watched it, so I liked it a lot more than I did the first time. I think that's partially because of expectations and not knowing what this movie is going into it. You're expecting a pretty significant Jaws ripoff, and it is in very many ways, but it's also a very, very different movie. And if you talk about it or describe it on a very superficial level, it sounds absolutely ridiculous and stupid, but it is not. It's actually much more well thought out than I think people give it credit for. And that's the adding that kind of human quality to the animal, that the animal has a motive, has a mission, and it is on a vengeance quest to avenge its murdered mate and unborn child. And it's kind of like,
righteous
I would
quest,
describe it
yeah.
more like death. It's like Death Wish meets Jaws,
Yeah. My initial thinking was when I saw Orca, it's less. I mean, it's like there's a lot going on that doesn't exactly work. I think that the extensive use of narration in the movie is not necessary and a little much. I think the Charlotte Rampling character is, I don't like. She's a sticking point for me because
her voice is so soothing, though. Come on.
Oh, I love Charlotte Rampling. She's excellent. And she was, obviously, have you ever seen the movie The Night Porter, which is kind of what put her on the map?
Not.
Very interesting film to watch. It's terrific. And it's not something they would ever make today. It's a movie, I believe it's an Italian movie about her. She's a proprietor of a hotel, but she was in the Holocaust as a young woman. And she had a romantic relationship with one of the guards at Auschwitz. And she sees him at a hotel later in life, and they begin to spark an affair. Now,
plot synopsis. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I'm reading the plot synopsis.
Well, you laugh because it's unbelievable that they would never make something like that today. But it's
you left out a particular aspect of their relationship that's
which is what that she does a sexual dance for everybody at the camp.
It's all over the Wikipedia page is the sadomasochistic relationship here.
That is the whole idea, right? It's very much like a proto 50 Shades of Grey, but it deals with that idea that even though we're not supposed to endorse that kind of relationship, it still exists amongst a lot of people, right? It's very much like if I can break up with an analogy that's like readily accessible to both of us, it's like the comedian Scarlet Spectre relationship in Watchmen, right?
Oh, okay.
Very much like that, right? How can you love your abuser? It's that sort of thing, right? It's very good. But she obviously was a very hot commodity, and so they put her in this big blockbuster with Dino De Laurentiis, the man who I think he put out King Kong this same year, so he was on a tear.
Yeah, that's an excellent movie. I love the '70s King Kong.
If I'm not wrong, I haven't seen the '70s King Kong in a long time, but if I'm not wrong, were they not going to try to find oil in the first in the remake King Kong, and they find King Kong? Is that not?
No, I think in the '70s one, that's what they're going for. They're going for oil.
Right. They're going for oil.
In the original one, they're not. They're going for I don't remember exactly, but
adventure reasons,
or a reason. Yeah,
manifest
this one
destiny.
is heavily tied into a critique of the oil and gas industry and all that.
Yeah. Again, the environmental theme in these animal movies that encroached in the '70s, and I guess we can touch on that a little later. But she, to me, her character. First of all, I don't want to be totally down the film right out of the gate. I really enjoy it. I think that it has a lot loftier ideas about itself than a Grizzly does, where Grizzly was just like, let's make an exciting picture for the drive-in, right?
Yeah.
I was not expecting the journey of Orca to end in like the Arctic with glaciers, like a la Frankenstein or Moby Dick, where we have a sort of driven character like wanting to deal with like and sort of to settle accounts with this whale, right? Because he feels the Richard Harris character in the plot essentially, he starts out the movie as a sort of simple fisherman with aspirations to be rich. So if he is able to capture an orca whale and sell it to a zoo, he'll make $500,000 or whatever. He botches this capture and kills the orca whale. And then he's like, it's really brutal.
It's very like, graphic, and it's actually disturbing. And I think that really helps make an impact on you, that this is stark and gross, and it makes you squirm in your seat.
If I was PETA, I'd be like, everyone's got to watch Orca. Right.
Yeah. And well, they don't, I mean, capturing whales is illegal now, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
And, you know, I found myself softening on these issues as I get older. You know, I don't know if keeping 10,000 chickens in a cage this big so that I can get a cheap McNugget is necessarily, you know, moral or right. You know, I think that's, I saw videos my wife showed me of a chicken that they rescued from one of these things, and they don't even grow feathers on their wings. They just have like bones, and they never are allowed to move, and they just give birth to, you know,
it's cruel and
totally
unusual.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, we're supposed to be stewards of the environment and of nature, and you have to treat these animals with respect, even if they're meant to be part of the food chain or whatever. You can't, doesn't give you a right to abuse them and treat them like that. It's not
commodify them in such a base, horrible way. Yeah. I'm with you. And I said that to somebody, and they're like, "What are you, a communist now?" And I was like, you know, I mean, we would go without McNuggets for 2 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, but I say that because it is a very affecting and powerful scene, and it is kind of amazing how they're able to get you back on the side of Richard Harris, who starts out as basically like a miserable character, like a miserly, like, you know, oh, okay, that's an interesting point from Good Owner. He says Orca destroys a whole oil refinery, not to mention Bo Derek's leg with a cast on it. Yes, that was very impressive. But you're right. And why I say that these movies tie in with the disaster films is because you have a lot of times the animal, like in Grizzly, is able to affect incredible damage on, you know, physical objects, and sort of like Orca, like he is able to start a gigantic fire that blows up an oil refinery. Yeah, that's interesting, right? It's very telling. But
I would just say, hold on. I just want to say, you went on the side of Richard Harris' character. Actually, for the entirety of the movie, and even until the end, I was actually on the side of the Orca. So,
sure.
And I was satisfied at the end that he gets his revenge.
But in that, okay, maybe we have a different point on this, because in the moment that he's killing the whale, you're like, dude, fuck you. You know what I mean? You couldn't just be you know, you couldn't just be satisfied catching, you know, crappie or whatever the hell they catch in Alaska. You had to really go after this poor whale and his family and whatnot. After we get the lecture from Charlotte Rampling, who's teaching a course in Whales 101 or whatever, shameless, you know, info dump.
There's a certain level though of going after. They make a point, and I think it's effective. Is that these are higher level intelligence animals? Obviously, that's the whole point of the movie. But their higher level of intelligence kind of dictates or implies that you should not be treating them the same that you would treat other animals of lesser intelligence, because these are they're higher level beings or whatever. That's kind of the point. That's Day of the Dolphin makes us to the point too.
Yes.
These animals shouldn't be hunted or captured or killed in the same way that you would treat a normal fish or a chicken or a cow or something like that. They have not a sentience or a sense of being, but they have some level of consciousness that implies you shouldn't be doing this to them.
And it's also sort of a supernatural idea, because it's a communication that, and, you know, and Richard Harris mocks this idea, you know, where Charlotte Rampling says, well, these whales communicate. Oh, really? They talk? Well, not in the way that you traditionally think of it, but like they almost have a sort of, you know, they have a clan-like society, right?
Yeah.
And but with Richard Harris, though, in that moment, you don't like him, but aren't you at all you're sort of on his side in his quest for redemption, because yes, you are. I mean,
I don't feel like he ever showed any sign of remorse or regret for what he did, other than the fact that now he's being hunted. I think
I disagree.
I don't know. I didn't feel it.
No,
I feel like he knew he messed up, and he cowered. He panicked at the last minute, and now he's paying for that. But he didn't. I don't feel that he actually showed any remorse for what
I
he did.
believe that he went on that quest against Orca because he knew he was going to die. Or the reason that he went on the quest. No, first of all, we have sort of a ghost story element to the film where the Orca is haunting the town, as it were, right?
Yep.
And the townspeople, sort of personified in the Native American man in the movie, makes the point, which is like, we're not going to end this curse until you make this. Yeah, exactly. And I think Richard Harris goes, well, I owe it to this whale to go mano a mano with him, right? I never got the feeling that he, after the first act, didn't respect the whale. He had sort of a very Moby Dick approach to it, right? Who's the main dude? Ahab, right? He wasn't like obsessive about, I got to kill this whale. Fuck him. I got to get this whale out of my life. No, he was like,
so is he on a suicide mission then?
Yes, I believe so. He was on like a fulfillment mission of like, and I thought that this is, first of all, a movie that throws, as a movie that is often pinned, and what I thought I was seeing, like a total Jaws ripoff, it breaks the paradigm in many ways.
Yes.
Right? No, I guess I have minor qualms with it in terms of like, I think the Charlotte Rampling narration is a little much. They go to great lengths to explain why she wants to hang out with Richard Harris. And she's like, oh, I felt that I was attracted to him. And it's like, what? Like, if you didn't have any of that and she just went along for the ride, you would never have questioned it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with her at all in this movie. I think she's the most appealing and interesting character in the movie. And maybe that's just her voice is so seductive. But I could have used more of her and less of Richard Harris, because I found him to be largely uninteresting, despite your appeal in that matter. But I just want to say, I think what would be
he's the main character.
He is the main character, but I don't think he doesn't carry the movie for me. I found him to be. I feel like the main character maybe should have been, or maybe it is the Orca. Is that not the main character?
See, this is where
I get protagonist. Is he not the protagonist of his movie?
The same as you ripped on Grizzly.
Is the enemy, is the villain here?
Yeah, but he's engaging with a higher form of like hunter and hunted ideal, right? He's like, I fucked this whale over.
Who was wronged? Who was wronged here?
He was wrong. He deserved to die. He did deserve to die, but he faced his death like a man, and he knew he had to do it, right?
Sure.
You got to turn back. No, I have to face this whale.
Well, also they wouldn't let him.
At the end.
They wouldn't let him leave. I also didn't pick up that the first time that I watched the movie.
They wouldn't let him leave.
They would not let him leave, because you can obviously say, well, how's the whale going to kill you if you're on dry land somewhere in the middle of middle of Canada or the United States, but they won't let him leave. They turn off the gas pumps at the gas station so he can't fill up his car.
He could have turned back at any time in the pursuit of Orca, right? Or not even pursuit. He goes to a mutual place where he knows Orca is going to come get him, right?
Yeah.
He could have turned around, and then at the end, he throws his gun away, and he goes, for a moment, then he gets it back because Charlotte Rampling gives it to him. It's, whatever. But, like, he goes after him with a harpoon to be evenly matched. I think he even says something about that in the movie where he's like, I gotta meet him on his terms, right? He's facing the consequences of what he did. He knows what he did was wrong. He pivots, and the movie, I think, in my opinion, lands that pivot, right? And then, Orca does a reprisal against him and eats Bo Derek's leg and destroys his house, which is a great action scene, by the way.
Yeah, that is the house on stilts collapse. That is awesome. Highlight of the movie. That's that scene in the movie. It's super impressive, excellently staged, very well done. I have to
really
say.
well done.
Stands out.
And
stands out
that,
for sure.
That was an interesting thing to me too.
The death of the female whale. That's the other scene. That's just the top of the movie.
Really a standout. Now, there was so much narration in it. I was watching it, and there's even a moment where Richard Harris Okay, hold on. First of all,
you're hung up on the narration, man. Come
you're
on.
so hung up on Charlotte Rampling because she's pretty, and she is beautiful.
I just said
even
that
though her makeup was caked on many times in the film.
It's her
and
voice.
terrible.
You know, it's the voice.
I get it.
Can we talk about what the pitch for this movie must have been? And then I'm thinking about
this. I'm going to give you a mixtape of Charlotte Rampling's voice narration intermixed with whale sounds for you to go to sleep to.
Imagine the pitch for this movie, and then reading on the Wikipedia page afterwards is exactly as I imagined. If this is accurate, imagine you just saw Jaws, and then Dino De Laurentiis is like, "Hey, this movie made a lot of money. What can we do to make it even bigger? What's bigger than a great white shark? Oh, a killer whale, right? Okay, let's do that. But then we can't call it like killer whale, like just like we couldn't call the other movie like Shark. We'd call it Orca. You know?
My point is that I was watching it. This is something that I thought was a profound observation. You're fucking up my notes because I wrote all this shit down. Like you wanted to rip on Grizzly for being cheap. I had a million things in here where I was like,
wait,
okay. What? First off, the Charlotte Rampling character delivers a giant monologue. This is okay. So Cosmonaut makes this point, and he goes, "I've worked on big movies in post. In my experience, narration always got added when the film was in trouble with focus groups." Yeah. So there was obviously somebody in the focus group that said, "Why does Charlotte Rampling want to hang out with this guy?" Right. No, I don't have my women goggles for 70s men, but would it have been? Is it even in the realm of possibility that Richard Harris was attractive to a woman? He was in Camelot. He was in movies. He should have been a Bond villain. I don't know why he was never a Bond villain. He would have been great. But there's a moment in the film.
Mark in the movie too.
That scene where Richard Harris is building a fake scarecrow himself to like get Orca to eat it or something, right? And Charlotte Rampling comes up to him and says, "Hey, you know the Orca attacked everyone's boat in town, but not yours because he wants you to get on the boat and go face him, right?" And then he goes, "Oh shit, you're right." And then he calls her on the phone and he goes, "You're right. I have to go face Orca." And then she goes, "No, you don't. We don't know what he wants. I was wrong." And I'm like, "What? Like you just gave like a Yoda monologue to him about the secret of the whale, and now you're backtracking? You know, I mean, like what? Like you just told him that." And then when she gets on the boat, we have a narration that says, "I don't know why I went. Maybe because I wanted to not see the whale die, but I wanted to go on the boat." It's like, huh? Like, what? There's no real good reason for her to go on the boat,
right? Just because she's in the movie, she needs to be there. She needs to be there for the climax, you know.
But you and me are watching it, and like if she was just on the boat, like we wouldn't have questioned that. We wouldn't.
No, I mean, I don't think over-explaining is necessary for many of these movies where they. But who goes to focus groups and who's being tested for these movies, and so
people from the 70s, like with plaid shirts on. But like, what you needed was something where she's like, "I have to study this whale." And then he would be like, "Well, I'm going to go kill it." And she's like, "Well, we'll see about that. I believe you have to let me study it first or whatever." And he's like, "I can't promise I won't kill the whale." Something like that. Right. But, yeah, that was my, but about the narration, I was watching it and I remember Richard Harris, like there's a moment where he has an internal monologue narration in his head. And he goes, "He's doing just what I thought he would do." And I go, I haven't heard this much narration in a movie since David Lynch's Dune. And then I said to myself, Dino De Laurentiis made that movie too. So maybe Dino is a big narration guy. There's my dumbass point.
I'm generally not a fan of narration, especially when the movie first begins. But it didn't bother me here. I think it really bothers me in modern movies, though. Really bugs me because you know that there was a gap in the storytelling that they have to make up for now, and it's like, oh, come on, you know.
So, Orca
I really like this movie, and I'm glad that I watched it again for the purposes of this discussion, because it was like I kind of was meh on it the first time I watched it, and then this time I really found a lot more to enjoy and appreciate with it that I will take away with, and you know, hopefully the next time I watch it again, I'll find even more. But I really liked it. I would recommend this one. I would recommend this.
I would too. We have a good answer to our question here. Good Owner says that Harris was kind of attractive in Mutiny on the Bounty and Hawaii.
Oh, like 15 years before, you know.
So we know Good Owner is a boomer lady. You can confirm or deny this. That's going to be my guess. Okay, yeah, no, I liked.
Before we move on to this, I mean, just
Yeah.
Besides the fact that it feels like a Jaws, they obviously made it because of Jaws. There's a lot of nods or I guess homages or references to Jaws. I mean, how many times do you see the fin of the orca swimming, through the water like you do in Jaws? Or what happens immediately at the beginning of the movie? What animal does the orca kill first to show its might and its power? It kills a great white shark.
Kills a shark, which is
Yeah,
Dino's way of saying my fucking whale better than your shark.
Exactly, right?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and what do you remember the name of the boat in Jaws? Do you remember the name of the boat in the original Jaws?
No.
It's Orca.
No, oh, it is. You're right. Nice.
Plus,
Dino.
the music sounds a little iffy too, like the John Williams score. So there's a lot of like copying there, but I didn't mind it, and
especially it's very much a copy. I guess I even thought Alligators was a little bit of a ripoff too.
Yeah, Alligator. Oh, we'll get there.
I have a confession to make here, but I'm going to play a video first.
Okay.
I was going to ask, would it be okay if we went on hiatus for like 2 seconds? Is that okay? We could take a little break. We're the midpoint in the film. Let's take a little hiatus, little break. We'll come back in like 3 minutes. Is that all right with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. I'm gonna dip out here, and I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Okay, I will as well then.
Well, hold on here. Let me get some.
Or should I stay and entertain?
You can stay entertained by all means, please. I don't want to. But I was wondering, these are supposed to be, just fun. Do you have a song recommendation for us?
Who, me?
Yeah.
A song recommendation.
Yeah, that we can play in the interim, like we'll be right back. Like after these commercial breaks, we can play a little song. Oh, okay. Because this, I think I have one that might work.
I don't know.
You're a fan of 80s hair metal?
I am.
Okay.
Wait, have you ever heard the Alice Cooper song, He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the Friday the 13th one?
Yeah.
Or if you want to do a 70s song.
I want to do a 70s song, but I don't
Billy, Don't Be a Hero.
Don't be a fool with your life.
Yeah.
Well, we're stuck with this one. So enjoy.
Oh, of course. That rubber animal.
Be right back, guys, after these messages.
I got
Okay, can you hear me?
That was perfect. Freeze frame. You should do, you know, a reaction video to the music video. You know, first time watching, right? You know, I'm just kidding.
Hello?
Wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hmm.
Is my microphone working? I feel like that's
Gotcha.
like
How was the
that's,
musical interlude there?
it was good. You know, I was saying we should do a reaction video, you know, first time watching Def Leppard Animal, you know, and be like,
I've never
funny
seen the
things.
video. Yeah.
Oh, really?
No, never.
Oh, okay.
Was it
I-
good? I paused on an unfortunate photo of a guy.
I saw them. Wow, I think I saw them in 2012. I want to say
I saw him at the state fair when I was like
they're awesome. They're
17.
still
They were
really
good.
good.
Yeah, they were good.
Really,
They were
really
actually just in my town, but I couldn't go. But they're touring right now with Alice Cooper and Motley Crue.
Oh, nice. Alice Cooper is going to be around me soon, but with Rob Zombie, but no one wants to go with me. So either I go
No one
alone,
wants to go.
or
Really?
either I go alone or I don't go. So
How old is Alice Cooper, man?
I saw Alice Cooper probably almost maybe 9 years ago or so. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. So definitely want to see him
Really?
again. But
75. He's 75 years old.
yeah, you got to see him now. You know,
God, he must
saw
spend money
Kiss-
like a motherfucker. Does he have
Kiss
just like
last
3
year
wives?
Kiss was one of the best. Also, they still got it. The showmanship and the pyrotechnics of that show were unbelievable, second to none.
I was never a big Kiss guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it grows on you a little bit. I think there's not that much. There's a couple really good songs, and then there's a lot of junk because they've put out so many albums over the years.
Sure.
But there's a lot of good stuff there, and the showmanship is part of it too. Just like with Alice, there's a lot of really good songs, but there's a lot of fluff and filler too. It's just the experience is part of
Like
the
that
whole deal.
episode in the 70s where all 4 of them put out like albums.
Yeah, for Kiss, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the only song that anyone remembers is the New York Groove by Ace Frehley.
Right. Okay. We're going to move on here. 1978. We have sort of a Halloween 2 situation where
Very much.
they waited like 4 years to put out their sequel, and everyone else is out there making all your money in the meantime, right? So we had to make a Jaws 2. And here's a clip.
This is Chief Brody. Man on a
Yes.
mission.
Guy, he's
I'm
walking
providing
in.
the trailer narration because I thought that's going to be the trailer. But
You remember him from Jaws.
I think
It's like-
we have a hell of a good season going for us.
there is a shark in the waters off Amity,
We're alone.
Again.
and no one will believe him.
I think we may have another shark problem. Are you serious? You bet I'm serious.
It's pretty low, the audio.
We've got a half-eaten whale on the beach. We've got 2 persons missing.
I'm on it.
This whale has got a bite out of it about this big.
Martin, no one has seen a shark. Be
I
realistic.
think the selectmen should know about it. I know it's just a feeling, but you've got to understand. Larry, for Christ's sakes, I not only have this attack, but I've got 2 water skiers who have
A tragedy, but a boating accident. No fin, no sharks, nothing but a boating accident.
But they're both still missing.
We have a lot of deaths in these waters that never turn up. Are they all shark victims?
Maybe they are.
Oh, bullshit.
Bullshit. Is it bullshit I got a whale on the beach with a bite in it this big?
What am I, an ass? When you called me, I called Elkins and her bosses. Nothing she saw is proof of anything.
So that means we're not going to do anything, huh?
Martin,
Got some hecklers there.
Yeah, big time. Okay, yeah, big time hecklers. We got some Jaws mayors in the house. Okay.
Yeah, now the more I think about it, that was it Murray Hamilton, right? The mayor, he looks just like my state representative there. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
Got it.
okay, so I
Self-docs.
really like this movie. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, and you were like, "Oh no," and I was like, "Yeah, come on, it's not so bad. I really like it." And I'll explain why later. I'll explain why later.
You can explain why now, because I have a confession to make. I didn't get to Jaws 2. I'm so sorry. I fucked you really bad.
Terrible.
Yeah.
You could have done the Bart Simpson book report style.
You want to talk about, dude? Okay, yeah. I mean, really, I was honestly thinking about that, but go ahead. I was like, fuck, can I just like fast forward through this thing? Because okay, by the way, I watched this like 2 years ago, right?
Okay.
And I remember thinking it's not terrible, but it's such a pale. It just pales in comparison so badly to the first film, and it suffers from the lack of Richard Dreyfuss and the lack of Quint. I mean, of Robert Shaw. I mean, it's just Brody is great, and I love. Why can't I think of this stuff? I love him. Brody, the actor.
Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider, thank you. Yeah. Yes, I love Roy Scheider. I love Marathon Man. I love Sorcerer. But it just didn't do it for me. I remember the ending with all the kids, like they upped the stakes a little bit, like the Jaws is going to come eat a bunch of kids in inner tubes and stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm going to pull the Pauline Kael defense on this. Is that if I don't remember it, sorry, I didn't like it.
Okay, fair enough.
I apologize, Ryan. I let you down. I ruined the Jaws 2 portion of the show. I'm ashamed. I'm sorry, but go ahead. Why do you like this movie?
Why was he still the mayor? I was actually thinking that the exact same thing as well. I mean,
there was the same thing in Grizzly too, where they have one of those filler conversations where he goes, "You don't even care if people are dying. You just think you're going to get elected president." And it's like, why the hell?
He was negligent in the first movie. The fact that he's still the mayor that many years later.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's because he was like the one piece of continuity they could get back.
Yeah. Well, they got Lorraine Gary as well. So, so for this movie, why I like it. Oh, well, first, I think, like you said, the best way to watch this is you cannot watch this directly after you watch Jaws 1. Otherwise, you will hate this movie and you will think it's a piece of garbage. Okay. So it bears watching when you've had a little time, a little distance between the first movie, because if you directly compare them, yes, this is the inferior product compared to the original, and it's undeniable. But this movie also exists. It is an independent movie that I think you should examine and look at on its own merits. Yes, you can't take the fact that it's Jaws 2 out of the equation, but I think you can, look at it from a different perspective. On that note, when I watched it, I think I watched it last year, and I hadn't seen Jaws 1 in a while. I really, really liked it. But when I watched it again last night, after I had watched Jaws 1 like a day or so beforehand, it definitely felt like I said, like the inferior product. I think the reason why this movie personally, I think we lost George, but I'm going to keep going while he comes back. One of the reasons why this movie speaks to me more so than probably to George is that this movie seems like it was more of the inspiration for the Universal Studios Florida Jaws theme park attraction. It definitely has much more to do with that ride than the original film even did. And so as someone who went to that park many, many times growing up and experienced that ride, this movie had an impact on me because of that. What I'm talking about is specifically the ending of the movie where the shark gets electrocuted by chomping on the electrical wire under the water. That's how the ride ends at the theme park ride. So there's that, plus kind of the whole idea of being on a little boat as you're going around the Amity area and you're being constantly attacked by the shark as it jumps up into the water right next to you. That connection to the theme park ride really has an impact on me, as of course that ride's no longer around. So, like I said, it works a lot better. We have you back?
Sorry.
You missed my entire defense,
But the people saw it.
Sure. I'll just re-summarize. I think one of the things that I speaks to me personally is that this movie is more of the inspiration for the Universal theme park ride than more so than the original Jaws movie. And I mentioned specifically the electrocution of the shark, which happens at the end of this movie. That's how they killed the shark at the end of the Jaws ride, which is no longer around.
Got it.
Plus, like, it feels like the ride when you're watching the movie, where they're in these little rickety boats and the shark's popping up next to you, in the water. So I like that. And like I said, I miss that ride so much. It's like it only exists in Japan as a full ride.
Really?
Yeah, they have it on the studio tram tour in LA, but it's just a short version.
Well, this movie too also has like an incredibly famous poster tagline. Just when you thought it was safe to get back under the water. I mean, it's incredible. The marketing guys, they earned their pay that day for sure. Right.
It's a very slick movie. It feels corporate. Obviously, the studio were the people that really wanted this to be made, because they made a boatload of money off the first movie, and Spielberg was not interested in making a sequel. So I think they fought and waited, tried to court him, and then at a certain point they were like, "Forget it. We'll get somebody." There was another director attached to it at first, and then that person dropped out, and that's how we got Jeanette Swartz, if I'm pronouncing
that seems
correctly.
so Hollywood to like, okay, we can't get the superstar American back. Let's get like a French guy or something. You know what I mean? Like very like Alien 4.
Jeanette Swartz is a Universal regular player, a regular Universal television director. If you watch a lot of Night Gallery, for instance, you'll see his name all over the place directing episodes of that, of Rod Serling's Night Gallery.
That's how Steven Spielberg proved himself. It makes sense. I mean, this is a guy who is competent. He made a decent movie that like it's not ridiculous and crazy. I remember, I didn't rewatch it for the refresh to get deep into it. So I apologize for that.
Also for his filmography also includes great movies like Supergirl, 1984, Santa Claus the movie, 1985.
But Somewhere in Time, which I heard is good, which people with
Somewhere in
Reed.
Time, Enigma, 1982.
That looks badass. I don't know what that is, but it's got Martin Sheen and Sam Neill, and it's like some kind of like horror film. That sounds
CIA
amazing.
agent who tries to infiltrate Soviet intelligence in order to stop a murderous plot. Oh, Sam Neill also, yeah.
I'm there. Yeah, Sam Neill and Martin Sheen.
Oh yeah, and Bug as well.
Bug.
So okay. I have a lot of respect for this guy. It's taking on an impossible task, which is to make Jaws 2. So you're taking the resources which are available to you, and you're making the best available product. You're not making a work of art. You're making a well-oiled machine here.
Yes.
So on that level, is it a competent movie? Is it well made? Yes, it's all of these things, but it's not Jaws. So what do you do?
But it's a totally serviceable sequel. It's not odious.
And if you watch Jaws 3, which I dare you to watch because it's unwatchable. I liked that movie when I was a kid. I had the VHS for that, and I used to watch that. But I tried to watch Jaws 3 earlier this year, and I couldn't finish it. It was so bad. I think it's partially because this movie still Jaws 2 still using the like practical shark effects and stuff. Jaws 3, they're using these weird optical effects because of the 3D, and it looks really, really bad. So you can't even watch it.
I was toying with the idea of like if I had like an extra 30 minutes, this would have been me watching Jaws 2.
Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader in the Guinness Book of Records, demonstrates his mega reading technique on national TV.
And you read this.
That's so fake.
Anybody who gets this course from yours can do what you just did. You already have the ability. I'm just showing you how to release it.
You need to do that. You need to have released your mega reading ability.
So I remember that guy when he read the he read the Obamacare ACA or something like that on live TV doing that. Ridiculous.
You have the innate ability. Just you need to unlock it.
And then the weirdest thing about Jaws 2 is the continuity, which if you remember in Jaws 1, Brody has little kids, like they're like under 10, right? They're like, he has two sons, and they're both like not toddler age, but like, school age, elementary school age. And then in this movie, he's got a teenager, like a 17 or 18-year-old teenager, And this movie is only 3 years later, but in continuity, it must be 10 years or more. I mean,
more.
So what happened there? I don't know. Nobody cared, but I noticed that.
I would have, if they could have, it's like a Godfather 3 thing. If you could have gotten Richard Dreyfuss back, it would have made a world of difference, you know, to have them to play off each other, because Jaws 2 has just got Brody out there doing his thing. Right.
He's
there's
cool,
not a
though.
lot for
He's
him
very cool in this movie.
He's great. His wife.
He's way cool. He's even way
takes up
cooler
the
than
slack.
in the first movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's Jaws 2.
Wait, I would also just say a couple more comments. This feels very much more like a teenager movie. Like it's definitely trying to appeal more to like the teenage crowd. And because of all, you know, you've got all these
kids,
really nice looking young people that are the victims here. So I think that's an interesting angle that wasn't explored in the original film, which feels much more adult, even though the subject matter is the same. I think that was it. That was the only other point that I was really going to make. It's not a suspense movie at all. Unlike, and I've read interviews or heard interviews with the director, and he's like, we couldn't copy the same exact formula. Like we copied as much as they could, but the entire idea of hiding the shark and playing up the suspense angle was totally dropped. And they're like, let's just make this a full-on animal attack movie where you see the shark. Let's play up the shark. We got the shark. Let's show it as much as possible. And at least you get a little something different.
It's very similar to like a Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Well, everyone else is stealing our money. Looks like they're imitating us, but we have to imitate the imitators now.
Yeah.
To catch up to what they're doing. Because everyone else has gone whole hog bigger. Have you seen Piranha, Joe Dante?
Not recently. Long time
I've never
ago.
seen it. Yeah. But
it's much more like spoofy and kind of.
Well, that's surprising because it was also written by Richard Sayles, or no, John Sayles, who is the writer of Alligator.
Oh, well, I think that makes sense because Alligator is kind of tongue in cheek as well.
Absolutely. We'll watch a trailer here real quick.
It lives 50 feet beneath the streets. It's 36 feet long. It weighs over 2,000 pounds. And it's about to break out.
You're looking at the one who saw it. And it was big.
You said it was dark. Now, perhaps you were mistaken. An alligator half that size would starve in a week.
He kept coming up with some garbage about alligators in the sewer.
Alligators in the sewer?
Once it escaped, there was no way to stop it.
The safety of the public is my job.
It could be anywhere.
There he is.
Ready to attack at any moment.
I've seen what this animal can do. You better take all the help you can get.
Keep coming. At first, no one believed it. Now, no one will forget. Alligator.
Beautiful.
I love this movie.
Yes. I enjoy
Okay,
it.
we finally agree. Okay, perfect. This is a great movie. Your thoughts, sir?
Oh, I think the best thing you can say about this movie and why it works so well is that it does not take itself too seriously. And I'm generally a fan of movies taking themselves seriously, but for a premise like this, it works so much better to be just a little tongue in cheek. It's not making jokes, it's not cracking jokes, but it's implied. It's implicit in the subject matter and the way the characters are acting and interacting with the environment that this is ridiculous, and they're playing it straight, but they're making it inherently ironic and comedic.
It's not a Marvel movie. It's not a Sharknado. It's not inherently hammy, but you have to have your radar calibrated to the idea that the people know it's ridiculous, right? But it works incredibly well. Well,
You
and obviously,
just dial it up a little bit to 11, and it just flows out naturally.
you never get any ironic commentary. Like when we saw in the trailer that moment where Robert Forster is climbing up the sewer and someone's blocking the grate and he's trying to help the rookie out. And it's like a great stunt. He falls back on the ground and then gets dragged away by the alligator. His performance is excellent. You know, his fear that he lost his partner. John Sayles went on to be a very lauded indie director, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got his start with Corman, writing Piranha and then writing this. You ever seen the movie Lone Star?
Not.
It's difficult to find. It's hard to find even on DVD, but it's got Matthew McConaughey in it and Chris Cooper, and it's a really really well done generational murder mystery. It's an incredible movie. So yeah, John Sayles is someone that I need to investigate more, but I saw that film and I really really liked it. It's terrific with Chris Christopherson as well. Alligator. This is a movie I just thought was great, and you have an excellent leading man in Robert Forster.
Yes, very much.
And lots of jokes about him going bald, which was surprising. They must have like retooled that and gotten him in on it for the movie, right?
Yeah, for sure. I also like this is the closest one to kind of having the feel and the tone of like a 1950s giant animal attack movie as well. This feels closer to something like Tarantula or what's the one, Beginning of the End, which is the one with the giant grasshoppers and stuff like that. Because this is mad science. This is the only one of the bunch where mad science is intervening in the situation. And although they're not purposefully making a giant alligator, they are inadvertently causing this to happen.
No, because it's an environmental thing again. It's you're experimenting on animals and you're wantonly tossing them down the sewer, and it's causing ecological damage, right? And it's also just like being mean to animals and flushing them down the toilet. Though I don't know what that looks like long term. Having an alligator for a pet as a baby, that seems kind of like a
I don't think that was
short-sighted idea.
I don't think that was meant to be even implied as a real alligator. Where they're selling them, they're selling like little lizards that are not exactly alligators at that carnival sideshow thing. But also the message of experimentation on animals and animal cruelty and all that, it's very stark and impactful in the movie as well. They're going around and kidnapping people's pets that are lost or whatever, and they're experimenting on them and then discarding them. And it's you know, if you're a pet owner, a pet animal lover, it really tugs at your heartstrings a little bit.
And the villain is tied into the government. The mayor is a lapdog essentially for this big corporate guy, Slade Industries, right? And you also get that note about the cutting of the larynx of the pet so they can't bark.
Oh yeah,
which is something that I think was revealed that was it Dr. Fauci was a big fan of.
He did that, with then he put the
ants eat dogs,
the gnats to eat their heads. We're gonna get banned.
What did we get anything out of that? Did we get any shampoo from that?
We're gonna get banned.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Dr. Fauci. Oh yeah, we got a note from Good Owner here saying Medium Cool. You ever seen Medium Cool? Haskell Wessler's movie.
I have not. I feel like every time you see a movie, I have to say no.
Yeah, it's good. But, I mean, like Robert Forster is a guy who I think almost had sort of a tragic career. I mean, he worked forever, but like he rarely ever got the leading man roles he deserved. Tarantino did good by him by putting him in Jackie Brown, which is his career highlight, right?
Yeah.
He's excellent. He had just done, I think, probably before this, he probably got right off the set of The Black Hole for Disney and went right into Alligator. Would you say? Probably.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Which I'm sure. Have you seen The Black Hole?
Yeah, it's a great. I love that era of Disney where they were experimenting with anything to kind of hit.
Black Cauldron.
I mean, they would never make anything like that nowadays.
No, Black Hole is a cool movie. Robert Forster is excellent in the film. I like the movie, how it has a detective element to it. Of it starts out as a movie about like trying to track down these people that are stealing pets, and then it ends up with a giant mutated alligator that breaks through the cement and like eats a police officer's legs, and cars flip over and everything explodes.
And cars explode too. It's like you gotta include that.
There's a lot to say about this film. It's got a lot of layers. There's a lot of things going on in it. I mean, as much as it is a relentlessly entertaining movie that's never a dull moment, like there's lots of like, if you notice that like nobody in the movie has like a positive relationship with like their parents, like they're the overbearing parent of the woman. There's the child who knows that he's trying to grab a knife and the mom is like on the phone, like getting drunk and like, get back here. You know, it's very anti-authority, the movie is. Right. And the alligator is sort of a conduit for the idea of like unchecked power, like letting loose something bad. Right. And then you have a lot of authority figures. Like you have the hunter character in this movie, which is one of the, paradigms that I listed, but he's like a total joke and an idiot. Right.
Yeah.
And you have some racial commentary there too about how he wants to enlist the local neighborhood kids to be like his tribal guides people. Right. It's like totally ludicrous and it's hilarious. It's great parody. And then you also have an incredibly realistic looking alligator monster, which they use a lot. And I think, if I'm not wrong, did I catch that they maybe made miniaturized sets and then had a real alligator walk through them to make him look bigger?
That's what it looks like, especially for the groundbreaking where he comes out of the sewer. That's what that looks like. It's very convincing. It looks cool. Good. It holds up. It looked like definitely a combination of miniatures with a real life-size alligator, and then
I thought when I was in for Alligator that they would never leave the sewer. I mean, this is going to be a sewer-only movie, but then the alligator breaks free, and we're chasing the alligator through. There's a boat chase and explosions, and then the alligator attacks the elite's party. Right? I mean, it's an incredibly entertaining film. I really enjoyed it.
And the gore effects are quite good too. And this was my problem with Grizzly, is that this movie actually fulfills that. You see it a little bit more, and not that you need to see so much of it, but you need to see a little bit more to kind of get that impact that something's actually happening on the camera, in the camera, that you can actually see. And it feels so much more real and like just disgusting. And
to be fair, we do get a lot of tail slapping and close-ups of tails, like when the business guy gets crushed in his car by the alligator. It's like, you can't give us a wide shot of this, like it's just like constantly
it has a good cheap feel to it. Like you can tell this is an indie film. It's made on the cheap, but it has the best qualities of what makes those movies endearing and entertaining.
Yeah, and I think you talk about when you get to the revisionist phase of a genre, it starts to die. We talked about our last episode. We talked about Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which is very much a revisionist Western, right? Heralding the death of the genre overall. Here you had a cycle of films that lasted about 5 years, to be totally real, right? Mm. I mean, this is the end, right? I mean, this is it. Yeah. Alligator is the nail in the coffin on the animal attack films. They were basically over. I mean, unless you count Cujo.
It's
That's
different.
Stephen King.
It's different. It's a different animal. I mean, sorry, pardon the pun. It's a different animal entirely.
Different beast. Yeah. You have Robin Riker, incredibly attractive.
Yeah.
The lead. She's incredibly beautiful.
Is it explicitly stated? I can't remember. Is it explicitly stated or just implied that she is the young girl from the beginning of the movie?
It's implied. She goes, one time I had an alligator, and then like my dad flushed the alligator down the toilet.
That's what I thought.
What happened, right?
Yeah,
and
I
actually
online that it was her, but it seemed like it was implied, but never explicitly stated that she's the scientist. She grew up to be the scientist.
Well, it was interesting because you get the scene where they're in the house and they're going to flush the alligator down the toilet, and it's like 1968, and they go, the Democratic Convention in Chicago is going nuts, which, by the way, is basically the topic of Medium Cool, which was Forrester's breakout role. It's very cinema verite, like it takes place during the Democratic Convention of 68. But then like I was like, is this going to be a period piece movie? Like they have the money for that? And then they go, oh no, 12 years later, the alligator's he's been down there feasting on mutated animals.
But what was the point of obviously to progress the plot, but the dad flushing the lizard down the toilet, what did he get so pissed off about that he needed
the plot
to do
had
that?
to happen. I don't know. He was like,
they just like what? Like you bought it for her, didn't you?
Capitalism.
I mean, come on.
Who knows? Yeah, he was upset. No, I really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised by Alligator. Now I was going to ask you, I mean, like John Sayles is a sort of critical darling. I mean, how much of the critical reappraisal of this movie is due to the fact that he went on to do bigger and better things, and everyone goes, "Oh, this is actually very intelligent because John Sayles read it."
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would never think about it like that. But probably in terms of its reputation from other people, yeah, I think that probably has something to do with it.
This is something we failed to mention. We have barely talked about any of the filmmakers behind these. We did on Jaws too. Louis Teague directed this. He also made Cujo.
Oh yes,
he did the Romancing the Stone sequel, Jewel of the Nile, and then on Orca, it was the director was sorry, cheating. Michael Anderson, who the year before had made Logan's Run.
Oh, really?
So,
I didn't know that. Okay.
We're getting what I thought we would get in the chat here, which is references to other animal attack films. So we have Frogs with Sam Elliott, American International Picture movie, and then with Ray Milland. You're a big Ray Milland.
I did not know that. I've seen that cover advertised many times to buy the Blu-ray, but I have not bought it yet.
So, good owner, we're being historians here of the genre. And if I were to be real, I mean, if you're going to look at the slasher genre, when does it start? I mean, if you would say hard and fast, it starts with Halloween, right? Now, can you find other examples previously? Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw
Massacre. Come on.
Yes, but let's be real. I mean, like it started with Halloween. That's when
craze. Are you talking about the craze, the need to make
craze starts?
Okay, okay, fair enough.
We have these antecedent movies that are very important. Black Christmas.
Because you could say then, but you could say like Peeping Tom and Psycho are the like.
Yeah, Peeping Tom is badass. By the way, that's a great movie. I love Powell Pressburger, which kind of that ruined their career basically. Peeping Tom, ahead of its time, but like Frogs, Night of the Lepus, those early movies.
The Birds.
Like, okay, good owner says right. Yeah, thanks. Nice to be vindicated in my time. But yeah.
Throw the birds in there too.
Yeah, you could absolutely throw the birds in there. It's the Psycho of animal attack films, right? Whereas Jaws was the Halloween, to make a
good
crude analogy.
Yeah.
But what else you got about? I thought we would talk about Alligator a little more.
Oh, I mean, I would just say it hits a little close to home too. It hits a little close to home too because where I live, you always hear stories about people finding alligators like not in their toilet so much, but like in their backyard and their pools and stuff like that.
That would be insane.
That does happen down here.
We have like which I'm sure was shot in post, like because the alligator is like in a pool and eats a child, right? And then like he's just like somewhere else. That alligator is booking, dude. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
The alligator is wherever he needs to be.
People do find alligators in their backyards sometimes. So
got it.
Luckily, I'm not in that part of town, but
yeah, Alligator. It's got a really appealing lead with Robert Forster. Robin Riker, his female counterpart, is beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And, it was her.
He's kind of smarmy and snarky, but they're all endearing qualities. They're not. They don't make you. They make you like him because he feels like he knows something more than the other people, and he jokes around with everybody. But at the end of the day, he's the only one that's really got his head on straight and knows what he's doing.
You know what I would tell you?
These people, they have the super cliched thing about the partner that got killed in a previous thing, and then
which doesn't really go anywhere.
Of course,
that doesn't really go anywhere, right? He doesn't have to have.
Oh, it only does because then no one wants to partner with him, and the one guy that does, the kind of like bubblegum chewing blonde cop there, he gets meets his demise too.
That surprised me because I thought everyone was going to think that he murdered his partner and that he would be on the. We have to get the alligator, and everyone would believe him. Like 20 minutes left, but like they believe him, because the photos are taken, and then everyone's on board with the alligator like right away. So it's not like I thought it would be like there'd be 20 minutes left in the film, and he'd be like, "Okay, now you believe me, right?"
Yeah.
But instead, we get kind of a weird subplot where like he gets fired from the force. Yeah. And then he decides, I'm going to get that alligator. Actually, I'm not. And then his girlfriend gets mad at him because he's like, lost his motivation or whatever. And then he like gets a second wind and goes, actually, fuck that alligator. Let's go. Right. Yeah. Like, it's kind of a wobbly end of a second act, if I'm to be real about it. But the movie actually kind of reminded me of like RoboCop.
In what way?
In the way that you have a corporation that's controlling the government that has created this issue. And the movie is like rife with like commentary on like
the intersection of like
business
government
and
and
government
industry. Yeah.
And everyone gets their comeuppance and gets eaten by the alligator or smashed into their car by the alligator.
The scientific industrial complex,
There you go. Yeah,
Big
which is
pharma.
a conspiracy theory. So why don't you just, check yourself there and get educated?
Well, it's like I agree with the movie's message about I'm not at the these pharmaceutical testing on animals and stuff is just I get it for certain things where you really really do need to do it, but these things where they used to do cosmetic testing and all these other things, non-essential things on and torture these animals, it's really disgusting and inappropriate. And then I really enjoyed the ending of the movie though too, which is that to kind of come full circle on the ironic nature of the film, the cycle starts all over again. Somebody else flushes another baby down the toilet, and there's still debris down there, and it can happen all over again.
And there was an Alligator 2, correct?
Probably. Let's see.
Alligator 2, The Mutation in 1991 with Dee Wallace.
Oh, 1991. So it took a while then too.
She was quite the scream queen. Howling. Yeah.
Just like direct to video, or this one in the theater.
I can imagine.
It was theatrical
video. Yeah. What's that?
It was produced by New Line. Yeah. Oh, Joseph Bologna. He was the voice of Dan Turpin in Superman the Animated Series.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I recognize some of these names, and I'm like,
no, that's good. You're good. This is good. But I was going to ask you, we get back on the topic of like cruelty to animals. I mean, how much of the effect of this genre do you think has to do with like, not just the fact that Jaws was popular, but the fact that, I think you had an increased consciousness in the minds of Americans in the late 60s and 70s about pollution. You had the forming of EPA under Nixon in the early 70s. You had the famous Indian crying with trash commercial parodied in Wayne's World 2. You had a lot of, I think people started to think more and more about the environment at this time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
To where this was kind of more, it was prevalent in people's minds that this was potentially a thing. And I think that basically what these movies are is like, if the disaster film is like a meditation on like our fear of like, we built all this infrastructure over the past 60 years through the Industrial Revolution and World War II. And now like, will it turn on us? Right. Is this like what have we done to the environment? Is nature going to have its revenge on our, sort of our luxuries that we live in? That's kind of, I think, the nascent, like psychological appeal. Would you disagree with that or agree? Or
no, I think that's a really good, interpretation and analysis of that. And I think it's spot on. I mean, that was a big movement at that period in time, maybe, a little bit preceding these films. And certainly some of them play more into it than others, but there's definitely that strain going through that. And you see that also with any kind of natural disaster film as well. If there's like, a major hurricane storm, a movie or something like that, what are we doing to the world, and why, I don't know. Why is this happening? Why is this, how can we stop it? Is there something we can do? But it's very reasonable expectations and goals that these films set out. They're not arguing for kind of like pie in the sky, abstract
carbon
ideas
tax
that don't make any sense. They're like, let's not pollute the ocean. Let's not have dirty air. Like, these are reasonable things that everyone can get behind, that are non-controversial. Let's not cut down the rainforest. Like, let's
not throw trash in the water. Let's not just, brazenly kill intelligent creatures. So we can put them in a zoo, let's.
And then imagine the alligator, what they're doing to those animals that causes the whole thing is they're trying to create bigger livestock to feed people more. Well, imagine we're gonna eat that food that's been mutated to no end. I mean, that's also another important thing about what are we doing to the food supply, and what are we eating? What are we putting in our bodies? That's also, I think that's more timely now than it was even back then, because things have become so processed and artificial.
And I guess you could say too that like the main character of the film generally is always in mano a mano with this creature, and in that way he sort of sees himself in it, right? Like this is an interesting world where like you can be like we don't often think of, well, it's me and this whale, right? I'm thinking about what the whale is thinking about. That's like unusual, right? But to be able to see an animal as someone that also exists in this world that we can interact with and think on a higher level with, a shark, an alligator, whatever, right? So it starts we put ourselves in our place, in a certain place in the hierarchy of like, whatever. And we engage with animals on a more visceral level than we normally do, which be it at the zoo or with a squirrel or your pet. Right. So does that make any sense?
Orca and alligator fulfill this criteria much more effectively. Alligator, as we described about us tampering with nature, and changing it and mutating it to our own ends, and orca as well as that you're disturbing the majesty of the ocean and the natural wildlife for petty and superficial reasons. You want to capture a killer whale to bring it into captivity. There's no reason to do that. I mean, I'm not like against the whales that are in captivity currently or anything like that, and I think it's actually kind of cruel to release them back into the wild after they've been in captivity. That's another issue. But like you're causing a disturbance in the ecosystem for no reason, and now it's coming back to haunt you. Jaws is like Jaws and Grizzly are just like don't go.
Well, with Jaws and Grizzly, I think what you have there, you have like a character like that evil mayor, which is someone who is hesitant to engage with nature or take it seriously.
Yeah.
He's sort of a Philistine, right? Where you have characters that are saying, no, we have to take this very seriously and respect that this is a threat to us.
Yes.
And not like not in the way that like, but in the way that like, this is not just, behind a glass at the zoo. This is a real problem. Like this is something that has real energy and power within our world. And you like to pretend that it doesn't exist because you live in a house, but it does. We share this planet with them and it has power, and, we need to coexist. Right.
And that's a good point, especially for Jaws on that regard, is that the mayor does not see he thinks about it in a way is that we can tame nature. We can control this. This is what's the big deal? It's just some stupid shark. Can't you just get rid of it or pretend that it doesn't exist? We are more powerful. We are in control of the situation, and we need to make money. So to hell with it. That's the kind of mentality about, instead of respecting the power of these animals and what the damage they can do. Granted, the people are not at fault in Jaws at all. They're not. I'm sorry, it's not a crime to enjoy the water and go on the beach and stuff like that. But the shark is the predator and the belligerent party in that situation. But doesn't excuse the mayor's behavior.
Yeah, I'm saying like this is no big deal. We've moved beyond this. It's like actually we have the West is not totally settled.
Yeah, just take care of it.
Yeah. So I mean that's kind of why I think these movies prevailed in this time, why they were popular.
I want to say
they're worth talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you recommended this movie to me, and I watched it and I loved it, and it fits into this genre rather well, and that's Kingdom of the Spiders with William Shatner.
I haven't seen it. I recommended it to you because I heard it was good, and I go, I'm thinking about watching it for this show, and I didn't.
That movie is exquisite. I love this movie so much. Thank you so much for recommending it.
I will have to watch it.
Not just because of William Shatner, who I love to death, but it really fits in well with this genre. It's a very entertaining, well done independent film about tarantulas and spiders that are attacking, but it ties very nicely into the environmental disaster kind of genre here. They don't dwell on it too much.
Blu-ray's $75. I was like, I want to buy this, but like, there's an Italian DVD or something.
It wasn't $75. I bought it for like $20 or whatever.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, you just have to buy. It's a French it's French Blu-ray.
Okay, got it.
But they really kind of hint at it and talk about it, about our use of pesticides and chemicals in the environment, especially DDT, and what was that doing to the environment. It's changing the migration patterns of all these spiders and killing off certain ones, leaving others behind. So you kind of have a natural selection process going on where spiders that are immune to the chemicals are prevalent now, and they have different predatory behaviors, and they're coming for the townspeople, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And it ends on a very nihilistic manner. But he's great. He's great in the movie. He is as Shatner as you can get in the movie.
Love it. I love Shatner.
The spiders are there's a lot of real spiders that they use too. Now everything would be CG, it'd be total BS.
I gotta check it out. Now. But there you go on DDT. That's Rachel Carson, right? That's her whole thing. That's Joni Mitchell, Big Yellow Taxi. Farmer, put away your DT. I don't care about spots on my apples, right?
Yeah.
Big in the 70s environment. So that's what I think primarily drove this phenomenon.
And it's like you're spraying that stuff all around. Yes, it was harmful to the birds, which they were not producing the eggs with sufficient shells and stuff. But we don't know what was doing to humans as well. You're just breathing it in. How many birth defects were caused by that? How many unintended consequences years later were a result of that? So, I get it. People complain also the other side. We need to have proper pesticides for the foods and stuff, but we're also eating those foods that are doused in pesticide. So
and the idea that like, this is all fine. Like, okay, I get that there's trade-offs, but we can have an honest conversation about this. Like to say like, yeah, we sprayed everything with this. We grew everything with hormones. So my wife and I were at the farmer's market. We gave a crop share program with the local farm, right? They gave us a chicken that we had to clean and pull all the guts out and cut the head off and stuff, right? Now, this chicken is not like the same size you get at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And we cooked it. And I felt like we had a little bit of a communion with nature here because it's like, you know what I mean? Right. In a superficial, suburban way as we do. But like the meat was not as like hormoned up and plump and crazy as one you get at Sam's Club on a rotisserie chicken spinner. Right. But it was better.
Yeah.
It just tasted more. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I don't know because I've never experienced that, but I can imagine.
That's good.
I eat all processed junk, sorry.
Yeah. You know what? So do I, man. But like, I'm getting
happy about it.
I'm getting more woke on this kind of shit. On like, like if you would have talked to me 5 years ago, I'd been like, what are you, like a crazy, like Greenpeace weirdo? But you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of shifting.
we don't want to go too straight.
No, but like me, like when I say in the picture of me hanging out with my boy RFK Jr., Anyway, which I do have. I did meet RFK Jr. He's very nice. But
sure he's a very nice guy. I enjoy reading his material.
Yeah, but he said something on Joe Rogan where he was like, cell phones hurt your brain or whatever. And everyone's like, what are you, an idiot? It's like, I don't know, dude. Like we put lead paint on everything for like 40 years. Like the idea that we're not doing something right now that's actually bad for us that we'll find out in 40 years is bad. Like, come on, there's got to be something.
How about the fact that we place where we put the cell phone in our pockets, which is right next to our genitals,
and sperm counts of like taking a super huge dive.
If there's any connection or correlation, or if not causation, is there not a correlation with that? I mean, you tell me. Well, where else are you going to put it? It's like, where else are you going to put the phone? It's like we're stuck. We have to carry these stupid phones around all the time.
They're getting signals.
Yeah, especially the new ones. They're constantly bouncing signal all the time. The signals get stronger and stronger. I mean, you can't avoid it. I mean, who knows what kind of cancers and things we're going to experience later on.
You know what else you can't avoid?
What's up?
Our next episode, which is going to be really good. No, our next episode, which is going to be our next episode, I think, is going to be really fun, and it's going to be fill them in.
Oh yeah, so it's another thing we've been talking about doing for a while is 70s superheroes of the dark ages. Long before we had our current superhero movie craze, which ostensibly, I think you can say started with X-Men in 2000. I know everyone will say, "Oh, Blade was in 1998." Okay, please stop. X-Men onward. We've had this incredible renaissance of superhero films, which is now, I think, officially expired and is now dead. And we have, a husking corpse that's walking around that hasn't been told it's dead yet, in the form of things like what just stuff? The Flash,
Blue Beetle,
the whole. I could add the
Miss
Marvels to
Marvel.
that. I would add Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness to that list too.
Sure. Yeah.
But anyway, in a time before we were born, when superheroes were and comic books were still kind of a niche thing for the kind of not so cool audience, they did make adaptations mostly for TV in the late 70s. And these included things like the very popular Wonder Woman TV show, the Incredible Hulk TV show, Spider-Man TV show, which was not so popular. It only lasted, I think, 2 years. But and then a weird combination of TV movies that were probably backdoor pilots for these things if they had been successful. So we had two Captain America movies. We had a Doctor Strange movie. There was those are the main ones we're going to focus on, which is a lot already.
Yeah, there's a lot, but I'm ready.
There's also Superman the movie. I'd have to look and see exactly when the timeline occurred for this. Did Superman? No, these preceded it because Superman the movie came out in like 79. So these definitely came before. And then Shazam had a TV show, Saturday morning TV show. And there were other like non-licensed, like generic superhero TV shows at that time too.
So I believe what we're going to watch,
things like that. Yeah,
we've kind of ironed out our viewing schedule here. I'm going to be watching. I mean, I've already watched Captain America, the first TV movie.
Okay.
I still have Captain America 2, Death Too Soon to watch, and then I believe we're going to sort of sample these TV shows in the form of like
the pilot.
They released a few, like with the Spider-Man TV show. They like smashed 2 episodes together and released them as a feature film in Japan and England or something. And we're going to watch one of those. We're going to watch the pilot for Wonder Woman. Are we going to watch the Incredible Hulk late 80s TV movies with Thor and Daredevil? Are we going to watch those?
Yeah, they're early. I think they're early 80s, right?
Early 80s, okay.
Are they late? I don't remember.
I think they're late 80s. Yeah,
they might be.
But, I'd be totally fine with just watching the Incredible Hulk pilot or something like that, right? But whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it makes no difference.
We'll come up with a good list.
Independently, I was watching the because we were kind of trying to figure out what is it exactly, the Japanese Spider-Man TV show, which I don't expect to talk about in the thing, but it was fascinating watching it because it's kind of what I expected it to be, which is a very Power Rangers style show. It was made by the same company, Toei. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. That produced the Super Sentai TV show in Japan. And this is Spider-Man in name and costume only. It has nothing else to do with Spider-Man at all. And I was reading about it that they were trying to license these things overseas. And I guess the Japanese audience was just not into or interested or could not follow anything about Spider-Man. So they were like, let's just license the character and we'll make it into our own thing. And he gets his spider powers from like an alien visitor from a spider planet. And then he jumps in a giant, he has like a wristwatch transformer device that gives him his costume. And then he has a like a Zord fighting ship that he battles a giant monster at the end of the episode.
And I believe, if not wrong, so Stan Lee was sort of demoted to running Marvel TV in the late 70s. And he sort of saw the Spider-Man TV show and was there when they were making it. And he was introduced to this idea of what was Super Sentai, right? And he actually thought that it would have an appeal in America. And so he brought it to Saban. And they took it from there and made Power Rangers, right? So he gets an inclusion in the history of the Power Rangers as like someone who identified early on that like, if you just subtitle this with English, it would be a huge hit, right?
Yeah.
And he was correct.
Well, I mean, it's pretty entertaining. It's very redundant. It's the same thing every single time. And there was one episode where he was fighting a giant brain that was like a floating brain thing. It was cool. But it's like, it doesn't make any sense. You can't even follow what's going on because it's just so bonkers. Like
I'm excited to talk to you about these because I wonder what the criterion by which we judge them is going to be, like fealty to the comics, like overall quality in general. Like,
they're not
what do we?
The only one I would say that's actually close to the comic source material is, you could say Wonder Woman is probably closer than the rest. And not contemporary stuff of that era per se, but they go for a retro feel to them. Wonder Woman, the first 2 years, I think, of the 3-year run is set in World War II.
Which I can't believe that. That's crazy. They would shell for that money.
And the pilot is a actually pretty faithful representation of her origin. Different than you saw in the 2016 Wonder Woman Gal Gadot movie. Like that's like the more modern representation. This is like the classic version that you would see adapted in other things, like in Challenge of the Super Friends. They adapted Wonder Woman's origin. It's very similar to this, and it's got Cloris Leachman as Hippolyta, her mom.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, Lyle Waggoner is Steve Trevor, and a lot of cool actors cameo in that pilot and throughout the run.
Well, we can watch more. We could maybe even watch Super Friends cartoon too for this.
Oh, I love Super Friends.
So do I.
Even the really
let's stick live. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We got a pretty big list here to tackle as it is.
It'd be good to like sample. It'd be a good episode to like kind of sample the different animated shows throughout the decades. Like Marvel stuff was pretty atrocious in the 60s. I know there's fans of the Spider-Man 60s cartoon, but I find it very challenging to watch that. The animation is very, very stiff and poor.
Sure.
And I don't really care for it too much. And then the Marvel superheroes, like other ones they did, are even more stilted. Like those, they literally take comic book
didn't hit their
panels.
stride. Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen those where they actually take the comic book panels and then they like move the mouths and like the arm moves like a little bit?
Yep.
Those are pretty atrocious.
Yep. No, I have seen those. And I remember on the Incredibles DVD, they made a bunch of those, but with the Incredibles to make them look like old 60s Marvel cartoons. And I was just absolutely perplexed as to what the hell they were doing. But like, I get that it was an homage now, but like, anyway, or now, yeah, my hindsight is 30 years old, but no, I'm excited. It'll be good and a lot of fun. And I think we'll hit a lot of trivia and kind of it'll give you more of an idea really of what television and TV movies were like back then, and sort of what it would have been like to be a Marvel superhero, DC superhero fan and clamor for any little morsel you could get from the mainstream, celebrating the things that you loved, which I think is the way comic book movies have to go now, or like comic book culture has to go back underground and be lame again.
Yeah.
It's over. You know, the movies it's over.
It's interesting that for a time it seemed like things were heading in the right direction. So you talk about the beginning of the trend in X-Men. The X-Men movies are, I mean, I love them. I think they still hold up. They're good movies, but you think about it, they made some wild changes to the costumes. The aesthetic, for one, is bizarre, and it's very 90s style Matrix influence, black leather outfits and stuff like that, which if they were making that nowadays, people would be complaining nonstop, probably myself included. But the movies hold up. But then
because they prove that they can actually do it. You can put a guy in a Captain America costume.
What I'm saying is that then later on, you get to Spider-Man and into those movies and into the first set of Marvel Studios films, you get a sense that they're trying to be pretty accurate to the source material in terms of stories and the costumes. And they look pretty good. And then we take a turn where everything has to look really, really cheap in terms of costumes. Everything has these muted colors. Everything has this kind of like functionality to it. So the costumes don't actually look like the costumes of the actual comics. They just look like kind of generic leather suits.
Like
you know what I'm talking about?
Fatigues or something with.
Yeah, they're just very dull and drab.
Like with the first Avengers film, Captain America's costume was very comic book Kirby, and then they would go, let's make it look like a military fatigues that like they painted over or something. Yeah.
And even like in the first Thor movie, he wears the helmet with the wings,
right?
At least for a little bit. Loki wears the horns, things like that.
Yes.
But like later on, all that stuff kind of goes out the window. You look at
then just the gradual decline of Iron Man's costume as Robert Downey Jr. decided he didn't want to have to wear anything anymore, so they just like CGI the costume and it looks terrible. Whereas the first time looks incredible. It looks so good as a mix of practical and CGI in those first two movies. And then when he was like had enough money to throw his weight around. He just said, just CGI a fucking costume over me. I don't,
And what's going on with this Aquaman movie, which looks like it's going to be a
I
total
don't know.
fire, but you see, why is he wearing a black outfit that looks like it came from X-Men 2000?
Because that's cool.
No,
he's wearing a black costume.
Orange and green outfit was cool in the 18 movie.
Oh yeah, okay. He's wearing a black Aquaman.
He's wearing some like black bodysuit. It looks like a scuba outfit. I mean, like, come on. If he doesn't wear the costume, it's like, come on, you have to wear the costume. Just like they had the balls to put
he wore it in the first movie. It looked cool.
In the Ocean Master outfit with the freaking helmet. And that movie, I respect that movie a lot because they had the audacity to say, you may call me Ocean Master.
Right.
And I was like, okay.
Whereas before they would say,
you have me.
It looks like some kind of Hulk.
He's like the master of the ocean.
Yep. He looked cool. Yeah. He looked cool as hell. That purple, he looked badass.
You have to just embrace the silliness and stupidity of it. It's like all these things are stupid. It's like, what do you want? You're telling me that Star Wars is like, you're going to take that seriously? You're telling me Star Trek is serious? It's like, no, all these things are inherently silly and stupid, but you have to treat them with a level of respect that they deserve in order to be taken seriously.
I love the big manta ray head in Aquaman the movie. I liked Aquaman the movie.
When I saw the movie, I said there's two things that they have to do in the movie in order for me to endorse this movie is that Black Manta has to shoot the laser beams out of his eyes, and he has to talk with the metallic voice. And I was like, okay, they fulfilled both criteria. That this is good enough for me.
We're going to wrap it up here. I got a comment from Good Owner who still hasn't confirmed whether or not she's a boomer woman or that they. George, could you do a video on the 4 Jaws films like you did for the Airport franchise? No. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. I mean, give me something else. I'll do something else.
How about
I want to do Planet of the Apes really badly.
Oh, that's a tough one too.
Yeah, I do. I don't think they've been done justice. Jaws, I'm sorry. I'm not in it.
You could do the Superman quadrilogy.
Could do that.
You did the Superman 1 already though, right?
I did. Yeah, a long time ago. After
Superman
I showed it to my
3,
wife and she didn't
Superman
like it.
3 is just. Oof.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen.
I don't mind
3
Superman 4 to be honest with
you.
you.
I don't really like Superman 2.
You have to see the Richard Donner cut.
Oh, do I? Okay.
Yeah,
I've seen the.
He recut it. He recut it in like the mid 2000s with footage that he originally shot. He originally shot most of the movie, and then the Salkinds fired him and put Richard Lester in there and reshot most of the movie again. But like I think Gene Hackman or somebody was like, I'm not coming back for that. Like, forget it.
Yeah.
But anyway, can you tell me? I want to hear about Barbie though. I want to hear about Barbie.
You know what my opinion in talking about it with the few people I have talked about it with, it's not really worth talking about unless the person you're talking to has also seen it. I'm dead serious. Like I could sit here and say a bunch of things and maybe have a few people like pop in and talk, but in my opinion, you should see it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh man, I mean the next ones I want to see.
It's a roller coaster, dude.
I heard it was pretty awful, but
no. I mean, you gotta see it, dude. You gotta see it.
I'm planning to see Meg 2. Meg 2, you know.
Yeah, go see Barbie. Go see it. Here's the thing: even though it is
Meg 2 and Blue Beetle, you know,
it's really hard. It's hard to talk about. I would say.
Did you like it? I guess.
It depends. I mean, it's
it depends.
It's a cryptic film, man. I mean, it's there's a lot going on there. I mean, there's really is a lot going on there. No, I don't mean to. I'm not levying any value judgment on it by saying that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying like you go see it. There's a lot going on. Is that because it's a definitive like artistic holistic vision with like a very clear like philosophical viewpoint? No, like it's all over the place. It's a codex for our times. It's like open to any sort of I mean, there's so many goofy things. I can't do it. Can't do it.
Do you think that this will cause a trend, a new wave of this type of film.
What do you mean this type?
Because I think this is going to be an example of a film that did really, really successful, and no one's going to understand why it was successful. And we're going to see a plethora of imitation movies. Either that means toy adaptation movies, or or like excessively girly movies.
But the key to the success of the movie is the Ken element.
Okay. I feel like we're going to get a lot of imitation Barbie movies of
we will. They won't hit the same way, because Greta Gerwig, whether or not she made a ideologically coherent film or not, which I think she didn't, it still is an auteurist vision of sorts.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure. Yeah.
And therefore, it is the reason why it's so contradictory and all over the place is probably why it's so popular, because you can get whatever you want out of it, kind of.
I see. I feel like they did a really, really good job with the marketing, and that
the production design is incredible. Yeah, the marketing is incredible. I mean,
people felt like they needed to go see it.
It's a phenomenon, dude. You got to go see it.
Yeah.
It's too early. You don't want to see it.
I'd rather see the Meg too. You know.
If you're fighting with your girlfriend, don't see it. But if you're it's something. I'll tell you that it is. It's different. It's I think it's a positive. Well,
I feel like
you have to see it. I can't say any more about it. There's nothing else.
I should wait till it comes on HBO. You know, it's kind of I don't know, maybe like alone in the movie theater watching this movie. It's gonna be awkward.
Yeah, my wife and I went last night and we saw. There's probably maybe it was a little less than half full.
Okay.
It's there's a lot going on. I think that you would
get something out of it.
What am I going to say? Like, I can't. Here's the thing. I just hesitate to, because the weird thing about this movie is that whatever you say about it says a lot about you.
Oh, I see.
Do you know what I mean?
It informs you're showing your cards here about what you took out of it. So if you come from divergent viewpoints, you're going to explode.
Neurodivergent.
What?
Neurodivergent, like I am. No. I mean, it really is just like the old phrase of a big matzo ball on the table. You ever hear that phrase?
Sure.
Like you threw a big matzo ball on the table, as in everyone's sitting here getting along, and then you threw something in the table that makes everyone get stirred up, right? That's what this movie is.
Okay.
If you haven't,
I probably will not see it. I probably will not see it in the movie theater.
Don't say that. Go see it. You can go see the Meg 2. Who gives a shit about the Meg 2? What is that?
Come on.
As we posted in this episode, the killer animal movie trend is over. What are they trying to do here with Jason Statham?
Well, it's a giant CGI shark, and Jason Statham is in it. So
yeah, we got our guy 6 N's says it's an ink blot test. Yeah, I think the other word for that would be a Rorschach test. But yes, you're correct. It is. It very much is. Whatever you see in it is what is. It really is. Like you could literally show it to somebody and be like, "What are you getting out of this?" Not so much, because I mean, like it clearly does have an ideological perspective, but it's not coherent, so it consistently undermines itself all the time, which is really fascinating and fun.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, and okay, we got Unknown coming in here with a hot take on Alligator. It's more of a tragedy. The alligator was a victim, very much so. Yes,
I agree.
A victim of circumstance. He's a victim of late capitalism. Am I wrong? Like, whatever that means. Late. I keep hearing people bandy that word around, late capitalism. Like, I've never heard what's supposed to come after late capitalism.
Late capitalism.
You ever heard this phrase?
I'm
late
not
capitalism.
With that terminology.
It seems like it makes sense, or that but I don't know what it means, or if it's prescient or what. But all right, brother, you want to call it? You want to wrap it up?
Sure. Any other final thoughts? So
not really. I hope everybody enjoyed the stream.
Is the superheroes, and
old
then
school
we got
superheroes.
Got to think about Halloween and horror movies.
We got to pick something for Halloween. Yeah.
So I mean, Hammer is a good one.
I would love to do Hammer.
Like certain select, like the top I guess a representative of the different franchises: Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy.
You got to
one of
pick the
these.
one-offs too, though, dude. You got to go the Abominable Snowman. You got to get Rasputin, the Mad Monk. You got to get the Devil Rides Out, right?
There's some good ones there. Or like the Universal monsters, like kind of like the weirder ones for those. There's a lot of weird off-ball ones there, like the
Hounds of the Baskervilles Hammer. I mean,
Hound of the Baskervilles is Hammer. Yeah, that's a really, really good one. Very underrated. There's a lot of Universal ones that are not part of a series that are really good too, like some of the Bela Lugosi, Karloff team-ups, Black Cat, The Raven.
I thought it'd be a fun one to do would be Abbott and Costello.
Oh yeah, or you could do the like the horror comedy ones. Like Abbott and Costello certainly have enough of their own. There is Frankenstein, which is all the Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman. There's the Mummy, the Invisible Man. There's one where they meet they call it Meet the Killer, Boris Karloff.
What's the Hammer Mummy film? The Mummy's Tomb or something?
There's like Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, I think.
Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. That's really good.
The Mummy's Tomb.
Yeah, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. You have Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. Have you seen that?
Who made that?
Oh, that's really good. Hammer. It's a mid-70s Hammer. Okay. Yeah, it's a 70s.
Oh, once you start getting into the mid-70s for them, they start getting really bizarre and like
Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter is
like
awesome.
borderline porno stuff there.
That's right. You got to keep up the times.
Vampire Lovers. Have you seen that one? Oh
no, I have not seen that one. Have you seen The Devil Rides Out?
No.
Oh, that's a must. That's a must. Christopher Lee is the good guy.
Oh, okay.
It's an absolute must. It's so good. Devil Rides Out is great.
And of course, there's always the Edgar Allan Poe, Vincent Price movies. Those are great.
Too many.
There's a lot of stuff. You ever see Witchfinder General with Vincent Price?
No, I've heard that's really good.
Really good one. It's
have you seen that documentary they did, like Caverns, Forest Dark, and something? Or it was like a 4-hour documentary that they did last year or 2 years ago. It came out, and it's about British horror, like on the moors horror. Like it's sort of about like how pagan religion informs the British culture to this day and the forms of horror. I'll find the documentary for you.
It's a really disturbing movie, though.
I've heard that. I've heard that. I've heard it's really good, though.
Apparently, very like kind of unnerved and upset with how graphic the movie was. Like he didn't really like that, since he was more of a kind of a lofty kind of horror, more.
Sure.
But anyway, there's lots to explore.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a lot. People can chime in here what they'd rather.
Yeah, certainly.
See or whatever, but
yeah.
All right, brother.
We've talked about doing the comic book discussion video too. I don't know how we do that, but
just a comic book discussion on comics. We have to pick a few and read them or something, and but
I forgot.
Right, man, it's been a long.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll do that. That's okay. It's not super important. I forgot to show the Jaws cards, but that's okay.
Show the Jaws cards.
I forgot. See, I should have put it up there.
It's a good way to wrap it up here.
The bubblegum cards that were produced for the Jaws 2 movie. So I don't know how many there are, but I have them in this nice binder here. You can see, and they tell the story of the movie basically. So
it's awesome.
Those, and then they have little like fun facts on the back. So they'll tell you. Some of them have like pictures that you make a puzzle with.
Oh, cool.
And then it'll have like a biography of the director. So director Jean Suarez was born in 1939 in Paris, France. He was a movie buff, and he was overjoyed when Jaws 2 producers Zanuck and Brown asked him to helm their film. And it gives you a quote from him and stuff like that. There's stickers, and so it's sad that they don't make things like this anymore. So like even a movie like this, they would make cards and could get bubblegum with them, and you could have a cool trading card of Roy Scheider,
Those are cool.
I have those. I have the even better in the back here. I've got the Welcome Back Cotter trading cards. Do you even know what that is?
Yeah, with John Travolta.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Vinnie Barbarino. There he is. To be or not to be a sweat hog. So,
I've never seen Welcome Back, Kotter. I'm sorry.
Oh man, it's a rough watch.
I've never seen it. Is it
And then
that
I
bad?
have in the back are V, the original miniseries.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good.
Highly
Okay,
recommend it.
I need to watch that.
Highly recommend.
I had someone actually just send me the files for that on Google Drive because I mentioned it in one of my videos where I'd say I hadn't seen it, and someone's like, "You haven't fucking seen that, you idiot!" And they emailed it to me. So
The miniseries, which starts it started as a TV miniseries, and then there's a follow up V. So there's V, then the final battle, and those are really excellent. And then the TV show is like, it's like okay.
But the show is good.
The movies,
the miniseries.
They're like 2 90-minute things, I think.
Got it.
Two 90-minute episodes per each thing. So it's it's pretty good. Good cast, good sci-fi. Lizard people,
I don't know anything about them.
That's what that's what they are. They're lizard people that come from outer space, but they're the nice people. They're the visitors. They're here to visit us and help us. And then of course they start taking over, and we become subjugated by them. And then they try to unmask. They try to unmask them as what they really are, which is lizard people, and they're here to eat us. But of course they control the media and they control the government at that point. So we have to form a rebel alliance in order to.
I got to see it. Okay, I got to see it. I have it. I'm going to watch it. I told Bob, who is a commenter of mine, that I would do a show with him on V. But if he doesn't want to do it, we'll do one. But all right, brother, I got to get to sleep. Okay. But thanks so much. This has been great. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Hopefully we get some views. So a few more people in the chat than last time, that's for sure. So
I can't see. How many do we have?
A good amount. I mean, we had a lot of comments here. I don't know what you can see and what you can't. But
I have to be on like the YouTube page.
Oh, I see. Okay. But all right, brother. Thanks as always.
Yep.
Guys, thanks so much. Check out my new video on Tequila Sunrise. It's good. So
all right.
Peace out.
Bye.